sessions are recorded. Maybe we can start, and as soon as maybe the day goes, but here it's too early, so okay. Dear all,
perdona, Denise, que si quiere, porque es un webinario, esperamos un minuto para entrar la gente. Si quieres, ya empezamos.
Sí. No, deja entrar, sí, sí.
Bueno, I will start meeting, and good luck to everyone. So we just start meeting, and it takes like a few minutes for the people to come in. So it take 1 minute or two.
Bring people in, Shannon, before we start.
Sorry?
Bring the people in before we start.
Yep. The people are coming in. There are 23 and 24 right now.
Okay. So we can start, Shannon?
Yep, and just for reminds, there's an interpretation in this meeting to English to Spanish, Spanish to English. Then you can choose it at the bottom, at the bottom and at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where we are. It's nice to see you all here. This is, I think, let's say, new sort of workshop between Geoparques and this interesting subject that we call creative economy. We decided to do this in the International Year of Creative Economy, when we learned that what it meant, and it was something that we thought Geoparques could learn about it and take to know how to work with them, because what they do is exactly that. This is what they can offer us. They can make them work in a better environment, and all their craftsmen, their sourcing, whatever they are doing is very good in the context of creative economy. And this is what Elsa and I are going to talk about. So I leave that for that moment. Let's begin, and for the opening, let me presenting you Mr. Guzman Palacios Fernandez, who is the Cultural and Scientific Affairs for the Spanish Agency for International Development Cooperation. This is with the project is financed by them, so it is an honor for us to have him here. So go, please, Mr. Guzman, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Denise. If you don't mind, I'm going to switch to Spanish. Y quiero dar, en primer lugar, la bienvenida a todos aquellos de ustedes que nos están siguiendo en directo. Estoy hablando desde el Ministerio de Asuntos Exteriores de España, desde Madrid, y lo hago en lugar de nuestro director de la agencia, que, bueno, por motivos de agenda hoy no nos podía acompañar. Yo lo que sí quería resaltar, y me imagino que el resto de compañeros que van a tomar la palabra acto seguido, es la importancia del concepto de geoparque, Voy a hablar del caso concreto de España, pero entiendo que tiene una deriva y un impacto directo en muchos de los países de los que nos están siguiendo todos ustedes. Que, como saben, en España hay a fecha de hoy 15 geoparques repartidos por toda la geografía española, no solo en la península ibérica, sino también en las Islas Canarias. Y desde el momento en que se pusieron en marcha han tenido un impacto fundamental en la población local, no solo desde un punto de vista económico, que creo que es el motivo fundamental de esta videoconferencia, sino también desde un punto de vista de preservar el medio ambiente y obviamente generar oportunidades para localidades, municipios, comarcas, por lo menos en el caso de España, que han sufrido un proceso de despoblación. En nuestro caso, además, quiero hacer incidencia en el factor que son instituciones de arriba, o más bien de abajo arriba. Es decir, que hay una implicación de varias administraciones, desde la administración local a la regional y obviamente a través del Estado y la Comisión Nacional de España ante la UNESCO, con lo que eso implica de coordinación, ¿no?, de diferentes administraciones y el beneficio en los municipios y regiones afectadas. Pero también quería resaltar y poner de relieve la importancia que estos procesos han tenido para el desarrollo, como les señalaba, de estas regiones, estas comarcas, que han visto cómo se ha protegido espacios, en muchos casos, bueno, pues desprotegidos, con una serie de regulaciones que han incidido directamente en el desarrollo económico de estas zonas. En este sentido, bueno, tienen una implicación directa en muchos de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible de la Agenda 2030 y eso yo creo que es una parte fundamental de nuestro trabajo, ¿no? Cómo podemos vincular a zonas que quizá no tenían mucho en el radar el funcionamiento de estos geoparques. Es una entelequia que hay que concienciar a la gente para que, bueno, lo asuman como propio, pero una vez que los municipios, las comarcas toman conciencia de la importancia de los geoparques, la experiencia en España ha sido altamente beneficiosa porque han implementado mecanismos de protección y de desarrollo económico a nivel turístico también fundamentales, ¿no? Yo en ese sentido no puedo más que, bueno, pues darle las gracias a la UNESCO por esa labor. Yo creo que en el caso de España ha sido fundamental. De hecho, tenemos peticiones recurrentes por ampliar el número de geoparques, pasar de los 15 actuales a 16, 17, los que podamos ir generando, ¿no? Incluso con implicaciones políticas, porque hay gobiernos regionales que ven el enorme potencial que tiene el geoparque en el desarrollo sostenible de regiones que, como les comentaba, al menos en el caso de España, sufren procesos de despoblación, ¿no? Y entonces, en este sentido, lo único que puedo hacer es, obviamente, animarles a que bueno, pues participen en este proceso e incidir, por último, en esa necesidad imperiosa de coordinación, no solo de coordinación entre tres diferentes administraciones, sino algo que es muy particular del caso español, que ha obligado a que nos coordinemos con otros ministerios, no solo el Ministerio de Asuntos Exteriores, sino otros departamentos ministeriales que tienen un rol destacado, ¿no?, en preservar el medio ambiente, en fomentar el desarrollo económico, en turismo, es decir, que afecta a 4 o 5 ministerios del gobierno en España y esto sin duda es un asset, ¿no?, como se diría en inglés, ¿no? Yo por mi parte no les quería robar mucho más tiempo, agradecerles la invitación y desear que el seminario sea todo un éxito. Muchísimas gracias, Denise.
Muchísimas gracias a ti, Guzmán. Me voy a pasar al español, me siento más tranquila y más cómoda. Por ende, decirles algo que no logré expresarlo en inglés, y es que creo que el concepto de economía creativa se aplica en los geoparques, en el sentido de que ellos pueden hacer uso de todas la nueva industria que llamamos o la innovación que se produce en los geoparques, las pequeñas empresas que pueden ir surgiendo, los pequeños productos que pueden ir surgiendo a medida que ellos van avanzando y se van afianzando, como el trabajo con productos, por ejemplo, en Uruguay tenemos jabones, tenemos mermeladas, tenemos quesos, todo ese tipo de cosas que empiecen a adquirir un valor en el mercado más allá del geoparque, ¿no? Así que bueno, tenemos con nosotros también desde la sede a Christoph Vanderberg, que es el jefe de sección de la sección de Ciencias de la Tierra y riesgos, reducción de riesgos, división de Ciencias de las Tierras y Ecológicas, y del secretariado del Geoparque Mundial de la de los Geoparques Mundiales de la UNESCO. Adelante, Christoph.
Muchas gracias, Denise. Si no les importa, yo voy a hablar en inglés, me siento un poco más confortable en este idioma. Así que, very good morning to everyone. Good afternoon if you're in the other part of the world. Dear Mr. Guzman Palacios Fernandez, I was very happy to hear you. Actually, very glad to have you with us. I think your mandate is already very much aligned with UNESCO, having a portfolio of culture and scientific affairs. But I was also happy to hear you as representing the network of Spanish UNESCO Global Geoparks. We're very proud of that network. It's the country with the most geoparks in the world after China. And I think we learn a lot from your processes. We learn a lot from your network, from the expertise in that network. And I'm really happy to have you not only as a partner, but also actually as a representative of the works of the geopark. So that's very much appreciated. Dear Lydia Brito, director of the Montevideo office, Bisharima, the officer in charge of the Cairo office. It's a pleasure actually to see you both together in the same event. I think it's something that we definitely have to repeat more often. I think we can learn a lot from each other experience. I think the geoparks have moved in different speeds in your respective areas, but I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other. So I'm very happy to see both of you joined in this same event. And dear ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, on behalf of the International Geoscience and Geoparks Program, I would like to wish you as well a warm welcome on this, I would say, important and innovative webinar workshop. And it's innovative, and I will come back to that later. As in any case, as a secretary of a program that is now in full expansion, I'm really happy to see this happen. Maybe for those who are a little bit less familiar with the concept of UNESCO Global Geopark, I can say that the concept already started with actually with a couple of sites back in the 90s, and we have some of the founding fathers with us here today. And UNESCO actually was quickly associated with that important movement because it was filling in a void that people had felt for a long time already. But it was only in 2015 when the Geoparks network were officially adopted under the International Geoscience Program that UNESCO actually adopted this as the third site designation at UNESCO, next to the more familiar, I guess, World Heritage Sites and the network of biosphere reserves that had known an earlier start. Now, today we are 169 UNESCO Global Geoparks spread over 44 countries, and that sounds impressive, but actually if you look at it at the global scale, there are many parts in the world where we are still missing, and there's no reason for that. There's not a lack of geological heritage, there's not a lack of community drive and will. It's just a little bit our responsibility as well now to promote that concept and to make sure that people understand the concept and that we can assist them with whatever they need. And I think this is exactly what Latin America has done. And I would like to thank here as well already Denise, but also the colleagues. I think it's been a dedicated strategy, a dedicated drive with those emerging initiatives that actually led to the success that we know now in Latin America. And I'm very happy to see that network expand there. And not only I'm happy to see that they're doing well, but that they're also willing to share their expertise, that they're willing to share their process with other emerging initiatives in other parts of the world. And I think that's a very important aspect of geoparks that is often underestimated, but it's part of the strength. Of course, we're not doing this together, and I'm very happy to see here representatives as well of the Global Geoparks Network and of the International Union of Geological Sciences, IUGS and GGN, Both of them are statutory partners. They're anchored in the statutes of the IGGP. And that's more than just paperwork. They're truly a partner in our daily activities. And we have this joint drive, this joint commitment. And I must say that cooperation is really part of the success of what we see happening now. And I think it's basically making sure that the concept is known and that we train people for it. And so I would like to thank them, GGN and IUGS, but also here the Montevideo office and the Cairo office for investing your expertise and your time and efforts in that endeavor. Now, I said that in UNESCO, we strongly believe in the UNESCO Global Geoparks concept, and that's not only here at the Secretariat, but I see as well that this is the feeling amongst the member states. They start understanding the value of it. They start understanding the unique concept. It is a little bit aligned with what we already saw under the Biosphere program. But I think part of the success is that we do work on protection and on protection of the geological heritage, on the natural heritage, and on the interlinkages between the both, and then also on the cultural heritage, the local traditions. But not only we look at protection, because putting a cover it seems easy, but we know that it didn't work, it doesn't work. But how do you reconcile this actually with the sustainable development? And as Guzman said, how do you actually use this so that people can make a living out of it, that people see a perspective for the future for their children, so that people don't have to move to the cities and they can stay in the landscapes and the countries where they are born, places where they like to be, and that they are proud to live in. And I think that's the unique concept of a geopark. And this is, I think, what we are trying to promote, what we try to make understand, and what we see that actually works as well. And it works because it speaks to the mind of young people, and we see that there is a growing interest of young people to get engaged in UNESCO Global Geoparks. That's one of the reasons, by the way, that we're trying to set up the first UNESCO Global Geoparks Youth Forum this year. We don't want to miss out on that drive, on that commitment that is there. We just want to give this a little helping hand. But we also see that geoparks are in particular serving the purposes, the interest as well of women. And we see that women are in the first line when it comes to setting up small scale businesses, serving geotourism, providing eco services. And then a last part that is definitely not to be neglected is the fact that the UNESCO Global Geoparks cannot work without the full involvement of local and indigenous peoples. And it's not just getting them as a spectator, no, it's getting them as a full-scale participant in the running of a geopark. And that's part of the success as well. So I'm very happy to see that the workshop here that we're going through in the next coming 2 days, that is not uniquely focusing on geological heritage, because it's what we often see happening. And the first people to jump on it are people from geological surveys, or people from the academic world. And it's important that people recognize that it needs to, the geological heritage that a geopark is built on needs to meet a certain standard. But it doesn't stop there. It's much more than that. And it's actually that interaction between, as I said, that geological heritage and all the other aspects that come into play. And the focusing this workshop on creative industries, I think it's a very important way of looking at it differently, at reaching out to a different public. And I'm happy to see here that we have representatives of the tourism industry, but also of the creative industry, that we have people of the crafts industry. And I think bringing together people of all those different disciplines, that's one of the first steps actually towards the establishment of a UNESCO Global Geopark. Maybe one of the last points, if you allow me, Denise, it's the strength of networking. And it's always surprised me from the very beginning, but networking is something, it's part of the success as well. It's one of the strong assets of a geopark. Whatever the issue is that you're struggling with, there will always be another geopark that went through the same hassle, that went through the same experience, and that is willing to share that experience, that is willing to share its good practices. And they do this by meeting each other, a networking event. They do this by meeting on digital platforms. There are several ways in which that actually geoparks are connecting with each other, exchanging with each other, and learning from each other, inspiring each other. And that you will see this here as well in these 2 workshops. I see that we have actually participants from Imbabura, from Araripe, Kutralcurra, but I'm also happy to see our friends from Gun in Morocco and from Gorongoro Lenga. I hope they managed to connect as well. But I also see that Asia is here, for example, from Basque Coast, UNESCO Global Geopark in Spain. So that sharing of good practices, that's really something not to be underestimated. Now, lastly, let me seize this opportunity to thank in particular the government of Spain and then ICIT, the Development Corporation. You've been a long-standing partner of IGGP and in particular in the development of geoparks. And I think it's been part of the success as well, as I already mentioned, of the fast expansion of the network in Latin America. And I'm happy that you're opening up your scope as well towards other regions. And I hope that we can repeat that success. But let me assure you that we don't take that support for granted. We absolutely appreciate this. And I think I speak in the name of all the many people that have benefited from different workshops and from different trainings that were made possible with ICIT funding. So let me wish you again all success for the coming days. I wish you a lot of fruitful exchanges and nice presentations. And we at the Secretariat here at IGGP, we stand of course ready together with our colleagues in the field offices. And as I said, together with our colleagues of GGN and IUGS to support you with whatever help you may need. Thank you very much. Take care and stay well.
Oh, thank you very much, Christoph. Nice words as usual. It's very, very, very nice to listen to you. Suerte que te pudimos tener, que te buscamos. Estuviste enfermo, así que muchísimas gracias por estar hoy acá con nosotros. Bueno, es el momento de darle la palabra a Mr. Bisher Iman, que es el oficial a cargo de la Oficina de Ciencias de El Cairo, en Egipto. Es un gusto conocerlo. Por favor, adelante.
Thank you very much. Dear Mr. Guzman Palacios Ferlandi, my colleagues Lydia Brito and Christoph Vandenberg, Denise, and all other dear colleagues from Geoparks, artists, and everybody who's joining us today. Allow me first, of course, to thank the Spanish Cooperation for their support of this project. I think it is a great idea and great project, and hope that would like to re-emphasize what Mr. Fernandez, as well as my colleague Christoph, has highlighted, which is the importance of networking. And I think this is one of the issues that we benefit from having inter-regional or activities. I'm always very happy and pleased to work with colleagues across sectors as well as in other regions. It is, of course, my pleasure to be with you today. We gather here to contemplate the development of a global community that brings together experts, stakeholders, local communities from Latin America and the Caribbean, West Africa, and the Arab region that are all united around the goal of recognizing and celebrating the interconnectivities between our natural heritage and the tangible and intangible cultural heritage, and to develop creative, knowledge-based approaches that build upon this interconnectivity as we strive to work to manage the network of UNESCO Geoparks in socio-economically viable and sustainable manner. As we progress toward the aspired knowledge societies and knowledge economy, where our economies and societies are not only equipped with knowledge, but more so where that knowledge becomes a cohesive force in these societies and economies, and forms a launching pad for people to use their creative imagination to increase the value of their ideas. This, as described by John Hawkins in 2001, is a foundation of economic system where value is based on novel imaginative qualities rather than the traditional resources of land, labor, and capital. Basically, or in essence, this is creative economy. It's a knowledge-based, imaginative, thoughtful, and creative. It is an economy where transformation of ideas into cultural and creative goods and services is a process wide open for artistic expression within a diverse, inclusive society that gives women, youth, an active cultural and economic voice towards sustainability. All of us, as we virtually connect today at this moment, are also connected by our knowledge of the commitment of UNESCO's International Geopark Program to achieving sustainability at all levels. And allow me here to stop by a little bit at the phrase all level, at all level. It means that we recognize that economic, social, environmental sustainability are not merely aspects of sustainability, but are an integrated whole. This frame of thought is well reflected in the highly interconnected 17 Sustainable Development Goals and their targets, including those we believe UNESCO Geopark platform and program stand to contribute to. For example, Goal 4, 5, 8, 12, 11, 15, and 13, and 17 on the support of all goals. And from our point of view here at UNESCO Regional Bureau for Science in the Arab State, or also known as UNESCO Cairo office, and much like our colleagues in Montevideo and the headquarters do, we at UNESCO Regional Bureau for Science here are also working closely with the member states in the region to ensure country preparedness and aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark readiness to set the path for the establishment of Arab Geopark network. We may have come a little after others, but we have quite a few number of aspiring geoparks. We right now have a list of 15 aspiring geoparks that want to join the network as a result of the 2017-2018 regional workshop that we held in order to promote the concept of geopark, as exactly as my colleague Christoph was saying. And we have several meetings in 2020, several webinars that were organized by our office. And of course, through the GEO-SCHEMA project, we are aiming to have member state-driven initiative working toward the formation of national committees for the geoparks, following models that are adapted somewhere in other countries and that have proven successful, as we heard very well, the Spanish model that was presented very well by our colleague, Mr. Fernandez. We would like to also support the member state in establishing the governance of these geoparks in any way we can, strong infrastructure, and pathway to promote geotourism. All of these are grounded in our approach also in the fact that we try to build on the UNESCO mandate, not only in earth sciences, but also in education, in CI, and all of that by providing education and training programs aiming to ensure the conservation and effective management of geological heritage in the Arab region. Over the next 2 days, I hope that we'll be hearing from artists, policymakers, leaders of community-based tourism, geopark managers, as they describe to us how knowledge-empowered imagination can contribute to building creative economies while engaging local communities as actors and drivers of progress and sustainability. I look forward toward hearing as many as I can of these discussions and toward the outcome of this workshop. I look forward to hearing all the ideas and the recommendations, and wish you all success and fruitful debate. And thank you for giving me the chance to address you.
Bien, muchísimas gracias por sus palabras. La verdad es un honor tenerlo también con nosotros, poder compartir lo que está pasando en la región de África con nosotros y poder, como decíamos con Elsa, poder pensar en realizar un taller el año que viene presencial como continuación de este tema que creemos, como usted bien dijo, aporta al desarrollo sostenible de los geoparques. Bueno, y tenemos entonces con nosotros a nuestra directora, que siempre nos acompaña, Lidia, que es un gusto tenerla con sus palabras. Lidia, adelante.
Muchas gracias, Denise, y buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, porque veo que tenemos participantes también de Asia, o que implica que allá ya es el final del día. Así que mucho gusto y muchas gracias por compartir con nosotros este workshop, este webinario, en nivel muy innovativo en su propia creatividad, de traer no solamente dos regiones muy diferentes, con realidades muy diferentes, pero también con acciones y con deseos muy comunes, que es el desarrollo sostenible, inclusivo, en paz, traerlos juntos, pero traerlos utilizando o de alguna manera trayendo la oportunidad de siendo este año el año de la economía creativa para Naciones Unidas, realmente traer la red de geoparques mundiales, no solo de las 2 regiones, pero también de otras regiones del mundo, con creativos, con artistas, con personas que pueden trasladar quizás de manera muy impactuosa, muy emocional, las realidades que vivimos en los geoparques, y por eso felicitaciones también, y me permitan que comience con las 2 mujeres que estuvieron por detrás de este workshop, Denise Gorfinkel de Montevideo, Elsa Sartu de Cairo, por esta innovación y por esta creatividad que nos traen hoy y en los próximos 2 días. Me permito también ahora, Guzmán, agradecer mucho tu presencia, tus palabras y además la inspiración que recibimos siempre de los geoparques en España para América Latina y el Caribe. Ustedes son un gran socio permanente y tu organización la ha sido, como decía Christophe, a través de financiamiento muy concreto y muy claro de cómo podemos juntos realmente construir este futuro mejor que todos deseamos, ¿no? Y tu presencia y tus palabras son un reflejo de ese compromiso, ¿no? Que el gobierno de España y que los sitios españoles, hoy estamos con geoparques, puedo hablar también de las reservas de biosfera en España, que también a través de la red Iberomab tiene una presencia y una colaboración muy fuerte con nosotros. Christophe, también gracias a ti y a tu equipo en la sede, que siempre acepta estas ideas creativas e innovativas, de poder traer el programa a otro nivel. La verdad es que es muy importante tenermos esta colaboración con ustedes en la sede, que nos ayudan también a conectar con otros networks que son importantes para el crecimiento de la red de geoparques en América Latina. Bisha Iman, mi amigo de mucho tiempo, estamos de nuevo juntos, que es bueno, y la verdad que espero que podamos continuar y que esto realmente sea el inicio de una colaboración bastante más estrecha entre nuestras regiones, porque como decías en tus palabras, la colaboración y compartir sueños comunes hacen con que podamos tener más fuerza y más capacidad, ¿no? de realmente cambiar y transformar en el camino que pretendemos seguir, que es desarrollo sostenible y, como decía, inclusivo y en paz. Quiero también saludar a todos los geoparques presentes, a los geoparques aspirantes, a todos los expertos que aceptaron estar con nosotros en estos 3 días de workshop, porque son ustedes finalmente que pueden construir esa visión que se pretende de este workshop, que es precisamente cómo la economía creativa puede ser algo que los geoparques pueden abrazar y desarrollar como manera no solo de dar a conocer la belleza, el patrimonio geológico que tienen los geoparques, pero ir más allá, ir más profundo quizás, cuando hablamos también, y lo hablaba bastante bien Christophe, cuando hablamos, por ejemplo, del patrimonio cultural que tenemos en nuestros geoparques. Nos cuando trabajamos los sitios UNESCO y los geoparques como sitio UNESCO, tiene una característica importante, que es también para allá de este patrimonio geológico único, tiene el patrimonio cultural que se desarrolló por ese patrimonio geológico único. Y esa contribución, esa identidad cultural, es muy importante en los días que vivimos, que son días de incertidumbre, en que tenemos que efectivamente repensar nuestros modelos de desarrollo. Entonces, esa combinación que traen los geoparques del patrimonio geológico con el patrimonio cultural, con el potencial de desarrollar resiliencia a través de esta combinación y de los saberes y del conocimiento que tienen nuestras comunidades en los geoparques, transformar eso en espacios educativos, ¿no? Para los jóvenes, para los niños, para nuestras sociedades. Poder trabajar a partir de un geoparque y poder imaginar en otros lugares de la Tierra que también es posible abrazar esos valores de conservación, de interacción sostenible entre la humanidad y el planeta, poder imaginar esa belleza, esa escucha de una vida quizás diferente de lo que la tenemos en las grandes ciudades, y poder pensar que quizás no tiene que solamente estar el geoparque, pero que nosotros, a donde estamos también, podemos aprender e inspirarnos para cambiar nuestras vidas en otros lugares a donde quizás vivimos de manera mucho menos conectada con el planeta Tierra. Entonces, esta idea de juntar los geoparques y todo su potencial con la economía creativa es realmente un inicio, en mi ver, de una jornada que es muy importante no solamente para la UNESCO y sus sitios, pero yo diría para todos nosotros que aspiramos poder vivir mejor y aprovechar esta crisis del COVID-19 para realmente soñar ese futuro diferente, ese futuro más sostenible que todos aspiramos en estos momentos. Decir que también que para poder hacer eso, y lo vimos durante el COVID-19, quiero felicitar la red de geoparques de América Latina y el Caribe, que muy rápidamente comenzaron a utilizar la tecnología, las nuevas tecnologías, para poder continuar presentes en las mentes y en los corazones de las personas y de todos aquellos que visitan los geoparques a lo largo de la vida. Entonces, ¿cómo cambiar y cómo usar las nuevas oportunidades que tenemos para que podamos también estar con más personas y podamos abrir la posibilidad de más personas poderem visitar nuestros sitios y realmente inspirarse y aprender de todos los programas que tenemos en esos sitios? Así que también traer la economía creativa de alguna manera hoy es como que continuar esa jornada que naturalmente ya estábamos siguiendo, ¿no? Lo que me encanta realmente en este workshop, en este webinario, es que tenemos creativos, artistas, empresas que buscan sustentabilidad en su producción, y los vamos a tener hablando con nuestros gestores de los parques, ¿no? Estamos conectando mundos que en esta interacción se puede realmente abrir muchos caminos, ¿no? De colaboración y de aprender unos con los otros y de traer realmente esta experiencia de estas industrias que son industrias que buscan sustentabilidad basados en productos naturales, muchos de los cuales están basados en productos que tenemos en nuestros geoparques, traer creadores que usan la naturaleza y las emociones de conectar las personas con naturaleza para pasar mensajes sobre cambio climático, sobre la necesidad de tener modelos de desarrollo mucho más sostenibles, con gestores, con comunidades que están en los geoparques luchando para mantener sus modelos de desarrollo sostenible y que muchas veces se sienten que están perdiendo la batalla porque tienen mucha presión de otro tipo de industrias más extractivas que tienen menos acceso a mercados que permiten mantener efectivamente estas industrias locales de los geoparques que no consiguiendo de alguna manera mantenerse económicamente. Entonces, es como que para mí yo veo este espacio y voy a intentar estar con ustedes el máximo que puedo, porque siento que es una oportunidad de aprendizaje y de inspiración para todos. Podemos aprender uno con los otros y hacer redes. La verdad que uno de los objetivos, algo que espero que pueda salir de acá, para allá de esta colaboración interregional, Me gustaría también pensar que este webinario va a abrir posibilidades de hacermos lazos de cooperación, de alianzas entre varios actores de desarrollo que quizás por la primera vez tienen la chance de estar juntos en un panel, en 3 días de reflexiones. Y por eso ya estoy avisando a Denise, a Elsa y a todos los colegas de UNESCO que están atrás de este workshop. Va a ser muy bonito ver después cuántas reuniones vamos a tener de continuación de estas reflexiones con todos esos actores que de una manera muy generosa aceptaron, ¿no? Estar con nosotros. Algunos ni sabían que era un geoparque. Fue necesario explicar el concepto de geoparque y decir, sí, claro, vamos a estar, porque nunca teníamos pensado que teníamos sitios como los geoparques y nos anima pensar que podemos ter este tipo de cooperación. Y me viene a la cabeza Jimmy Nelson, que va a estar con nosotros más tarde a las 11, que ya tenemos encuentros para ver cómo seguimos la cooperación con él, siendo una persona, un artista, un creativo que trabaja precisamente usando la arte como medio de pasar mensajes muy importantes a toda la humanidad. Entonces, era un poco poner este desafío de que comenzamos hoy, esperemos que esta jornada sea realmente una jornada más larga de grandes colaboraciones, de grandes logros en nos conocernos mejor y podemos utilizar todo que tenemos, todo que queremos y hacerlo de manera conjunta, de manera concertada y realmente con esa base de pensar que es la creatividad, que es la identidad cultural, que es esa sensación emocional de pertenencia a un sitio que nos hace realmente ser más sabios, ser más generosos, ser más solidarios y sermos realmente capaces de continuar luchando, mismo cuando sabemos que no es siempre fácil poder atingir nuestros sueños. Una vez más, muchas gracias a todos ustedes, a todas las personas que me acompañaron en este panel de abertura, a todos los expertos, socios que se juntaron para las charlas, para las ponencias, a todos los geoparques y los geoparques aspirantes. La red de LAC continúa creciendo. Muy feliz que ustedes también tienen el potencial de crecimiento en MENA. Yo muy rápidamente me voy a cambiar de nuevo, de regreso a mi continente. Me voy para la oficina de Harari y espero que esta experiencia que tengo con la región LAC, y ya pongo el desafío acá, voy a necesitar mucho de los geoparques LAC para me ayudar en mi continente, África, también a crecer la red de geoparques en ese continente que es también muy bello y muy diferente, pero muy bello con Latinoamérica y el Caribe. Así que un gusto estar con ustedes y bien, comenzamos la jornada, Denise. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchas gracias a ti, Lidia. Me quedo con una reflexión y es justamente uno de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible que persiguen los geoparques y que son las alianzas. No solo entre geoparques, sino también entre las redes ya existentes y la posibilidad de generar nuevas redes creo que va a tener un valor muy importante. Y creo que en el contexto de la economía creativa tenemos varias opciones, posibilidades que se nos abren y bueno, sepamos aprovecharlas, como quien dice. Bueno, en nuestra próxima charla, que vamos muy bien de tiempo, lo cual me pone contenta, la vamos a hacer entre mi colega Elsa y yo, que es establecer el escenario en el cual estamos hablando, cómo los geoparques de UNESCO utilizan su patrimonio geológico en conexión con su patrimonio cultural, tanto en América Latina y el Caribe como en África, norte de África. Entonces empieza hablando Elsa y luego sigo yo. Adelante, Elsa.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for the opening speech from everybody. I would like to welcome everybody from our region. Let me just please welcome them a little bit in Arabic, and then I will move back to English. أهلا وسهلا بالجميع المشتركين معنا من الدول العربية. أكيد اليوم نحن مسرورين إنه بصراحة في عنا عدد كبير انضم لنا بورشة العمل اليوم اللي هي بتتعلق بالاقتصاد الإبداعي، وتقام هذه الورشة في نطاق المشروع اللي عنوانه هو مخططات إدارة الحدائق الجيولوجية العالمية لليونسكو في أمريكا اللاتينية ومنطقة البحر الكاريبي وغرب شمال أفريقيا، وأكيد اللي منعني فيهم هون هن كل الدول العربية. هقدم هلأ المشروع وحتعرفوا أكثر نطاقه وشو هو اللي شو هن البلدان اللي نحن عم نشتغل معهم بالتحديد، ولأنه كمان عم نشتغل مع كل الدول العربية، معنا مشاركين من كل الدول العربية اليوم. هلا حارجع انقل للانجليش، بس بدي اعتذر ما قدرنا نامن الترجمه الفوريه لكل الحديث اللي عم للعربي، اكيد هي مؤمنه للانجليزي، بس حنوفر كل المواد وكمان كل الكلمات بالعربي لكم بوقت لاحق. اللي حاعمله هلا so I will move back to English. So I welcome everybody. Good afternoon, good morning. From our participants from the Arab region and from Latin America and North Africa and West Africa. So what I will do now, I will present the project. We'll go through the project objectives, the main activities, and the timeline also a little bit, and we'll give you a briefing what happened since this project started in January 2021, and where are we now in terms of implementation. So I will share my screen. The presentation will be in English, but as I mentioned, we will provide all material translated into Arabic for our participants from the Arab region. So the project is yes.
Que no podemos, sorry, we cannot see your presentation.
Okay, sorry, 1 minute. Let me stop sharing and I will share again. What about now?
Yeah, no, perfect.
Yep.
Okay, okay. So the project entails the development of schemes for UNESCO Global Geoparques.
We lost your presentation. You have to touch again the PowerPoint.
Okay. Now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So the project entails the development of management schemes and design for sure also of management scheme for UNESCO Global Geopark in Latin America, the Caribbean, West and North Africa, and we're targeting the Arab states in terms of North Africa and the West Africa. What we are driven by is empowering national stakeholders for effective management of geological heritage in both regions. In fact, in all countries that are recipients of that will be targeted by the project activity, and also we're also dealing with the country and member state in the whole region. So in the Arab region, I mean. So we are implementing the project in close partnership with UNESCO Montevideo office. So we have 2 UNESCO offices working on this project, UNESCO Montevideo office, and we have Cairo office here, the regional office for science in the Arab states. The funding agency, as it has been mentioned, it's a Spanish agency for international development and cooperation. We have, in terms of partnership, for sure, we're establishing, and we established partnership already for this project with UNESCO NATCOM and the member state, and also all national stakeholders and partners. They will come to join the project step by step when we are implementing the activities along the way. The project starting date is January 2021, and the duration is 2 years, 24 months. So as you can see, we have, in terms of recipient region and countries, where we're targeting all the countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. And in terms of also the Arab region, what we're targeting is North Africa and West Africa. We have Egypt, Mauritania, Morocco, Senegal, and Tunisia. But also it's important to mention that all the Arab countries, they are really, we have people from all the Arab countries here, and we have launched also activity and let other Arab countries join the activities that we have already organized till now. Okay, the main objective is to design schemes to ensure the readiness of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark in the regions, also in Latin America, Caribbean, and North African and West Africa, to join, in fact, at the end, the Global Geopark Network. I think I have a problem. Okay. So what are the aims? We have set a series of aims for this project. We want to support the efforts of member states to foster the establishment of national geopark committees, to identify national and global stakeholders and develop a stakeholders map in partnership with national geopark committees that we are establishing along the way. We'll build also a list of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark, and part of this exercise has already been done in the recipient countries and also in all member states in the Arab region. We have done 2 webinars for Geopark, where we worked with the countries to develop their list of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark to be able to work on their readiness and nomination. Also, we want to build national and local capacity through the development and organization of training of trainers, and these courses and training of trainers or intensive course, they will be made available in 5 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, French, English, and Arabic. We have also the other last aims where we will be working, we're targeting, is to strengthen the knowledge of science underlying UNESCO Global Geopark, and also build the skills in geological heritage conservation and management. And this will be throughout the training of trainers and intensive course that will be developing under this project. And our last aim is to promote, and it's one of the most important also aim that we're targeting, is to promote sustainable international and domestic tourism as well, in terms of geotourism or nature-based tourism in the UNESCO Global Geopark in the recipient region and countries. I would like to mention, maybe it was mentioned by Dr. Bisher, the only UNESCO Global Geopark we have in the Arab region is in North Africa. I guess you know about it. It's Amkoon, and we'll have an intervention later by our colleague, the president of Amkoon Geological UNESCO Global Geopark. This is why it's so important, this project, to work not only with the recipient country, but all the regions. So we have some positive externalities from this project, where we are involving additional countries to start and establish the governance in terms of national committees and set the path towards the establishment of the Arab Geopark Network, for sure, among other activities that will happen and in parallel in the Latin America and Caribbean countries. So we have 3 lines of activities under this project. We want to establish strong institutional foundation and national capacity of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark. And here we're targeting UNESCO National Commission, the representative of national competent authorities, site managers, where we have Global Geopark, economists, academic institution, research center, experts and practitioners also as well, having the experience in establishing, managing, and putting an effective governance for the UNESCO Global Geopark. We'll also be working with policy and decision makers and local communities. The second line of activity, we aim to found viable inter- and intra-regional hubs of knowledge on geoscience and the conservation of geological heritage. And this would be between our region here and Latin America. And really, this will be a very enriching experience to go through and to build the group of people, the community of practice. And we have in this first workshop, I guess we're starting to build up the community of practice or people involved related to UNESCO Global Geopark, among other aspects, not only in terms of geotourism, in terms of management of geological heritage, science and education and training. And here also we have at some point the same type of target groups. For sure, we'll have the school and university students. We'll have geoscientists. We'll be training geoscientists from the region to be future evaluators for UNESCO Global Geopark. My colleague, Dr. Nicholas, I think he will tap on this issue in terms of the nomination of Global Geopark. We have also people working in conservation of geological heritage, and maybe also in natural heritage as in general, and we would bring experience from other than the one targeting geological heritage. We have the tourism sector, the site managers, local community, including youth, women, and indigenous people as well. The third line of activity and the last one is to strengthen social capital, striving to celebrate the Earth's heritage and sustaining local communities and leveraging their livelihood. And here, through also the training of trainers we have, this creative economy workshop would also help us in here. And we have also all the meeting and the workshop that will take place throughout this project. We'll try to create a network of partners and also local, in terms of local partners, national partners, and maybe sub-regional and regional partners to work around the UNESCO Global Geopark. So we'll have well-rounded community and sites in order really to be nominated as UNESCO Global Geopark, or also to pass the evaluation that happens every 2 years and to improve their management of geological heritage and in terms of also geological conservation. And here also we're talking about geotourism. So the target groups we have for sure UNESCO national commissions. They are always on board. We have the Geopark national committees, which we are hoping to have in the 2 regions. We have the national competent authority. The tourism sector in here is quite a major targeted group where we will be working. We'll try to approach and address travel agency, eco-tour operator, restaurant in terms of hospitality, eco-lodges and hotels also in terms of hospitality. We have site managers. We have also here schools and university students, researchers and scholars from universities and research center, the local and national developer and entrepreneur. Maybe we'll have new entrepreneurships around the UNESCO Global Geopark. So this will come up, or it will emerge through the implementation of our activities and meetings. And also we have local community, including indigenous people, local people, youth and women, and all the community that are around the UNESCO Global Geopark and the conservation of geological heritage. So I think I'm not sure if I need to go through the key partners. We have, as mentioned, we have UNESCO National Commission, we have ministries of education and higher education in the different member states. We have Ministry of Tourism, Environment, Mining and Geology, Planning also. We'll have from the local governance, the municipalities and other local bodies. This depends on the country and the region. We have future Geopark national committees. We have the UNESCO Global Geopark, mainly the Spanish one, because of the great expertise and the long history in terms of the conservation and management of geological heritage. And Spain being the second greatest number of UGGP in the world, and the Portuguese ones as well. We have the LAC Geopark network. We have also international organization working on geological heritage and natural science, and with local community. We have UNESCO regional office, we mentioned this, and we have also the international geoscience and geopark section at UNESCO headquarters in Paris. And we have for sure the 4 Spanish cooperation training centers. One will be working on training of trainers and intensive course, which are found in Bolivia, Colombia, Guatemala, and Uruguay. Sorry. Not sure why. Okay, the direct beneficiaries, we have individual of the LAC Geopark network and its aspiring member. We have geoscientists and potential candidates for Geopark evaluator. We mentioned the indigenous people, we have representative of local community, and we have government officials such as governors, mayors, and any decision maker involved with future management of UNESCO Global Geopark. We have also representative of the private sector and the women and youth. This we have mentioned it. In fact, we have mentioned all this in terms of other key stakeholders. What we will go through now is very quickly what are the project activities and the outcomes. The outcomes, we will have strong institutional foundation and national capacity for aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark. This is the first outcome. The second outcome, and these are aligned with the line of activities we're working on, we have viable UNESCO inter and intra-regional hubs of knowledge on geoscience and the conservation of geological heritage. And we have strong social capital striving to celebrate the Earth's heritage in the 2 regions. What we're expecting at the end of the project is to have expanded strong LAC Geopark network, African and Arab Geopark networks. Here we have a lot of work to do, especially in the Arab region, because as I mentioned, we have only one UNESCO Global Geopark in Morocco, but we have been working and we have compiled a list of aspiring UNESCO Global Geopark here in the region. We have also the third output is having national geopark commissions in all recipient countries, and other countries also benefiting from this project. And we have already done both offices, we have already done meetings with UNESCO National Commission, and we're working with them for the establishment of national geopark committees. And we're having here in the Arab region our meeting on the 30th of September, and we started receiving the nominated members for UNESCO committee, National Committee on Geopark. And in the LAC, there are already National Geopark Committee. My colleague Denise can give you more, can talk more a little bit about this. We'll have also in terms of output, country-to-country self-assessment and readiness report on aspiring global geopark. We'll have 2 training courses converted to multiple online open courses. So this is a sustainable component of the project. This will not end with when the project activities end, but this will be offered during after 2023, and we will have for sure a large community of people from the region, maybe not only from the Arab region and Latin America and LAC region, but also and for sure specifically North Africa and West Africa, but we'll have people from the whole world benefiting from these training of trainers course, which will be available for everybody. As we mentioned before today, we're starting to form this community of practice working on geological heritage conservation and management, or just we're giving them today maybe an induction workshop, how to be involved in this and be part of the community of practice. We'll have also regional and sub-regional youth geopark community. This we're aiming also this in the project. And we'll have local sustainable tourism framework for international and domestic tourists in UNESCO Global Geopark. We'll be preparing a toolkit and including guidelines for geotourism and effective management of geological heritage. And we have also the toolkit for the promotion of geotourism. This is, in fact, these are two associated outputs. So the activities will be having regional and sub-regional workshop. This is a first workshop we're having, inter-regional workshop now, but for sure before when this project was conceived and developed and we got the funds, we were planning to have for sure in presence workshop, and we hope that this will happen in the new year if the situation will change for sure in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic. We aim to have designation nomination dossier completed and submitted to UGGP Secretariat. So we have 2 years to work with the aspiring geopark site. They have high readiness to be nominated as UNESCO Global Geopark. We'll have hands-on training in terms of evaluation of assessment of aspiring site, and we'll have the participatory mapping of direct and indirect stakeholders involved in geological heritage conservation. And what we want also to do is, as I mentioned before, is to develop training courses. We have 2. We'll also work on a framework of local geotourism strategy, and we'll have geotourism toolkit, including guidelines for effective management of geological heritage. And the component of this toolkit, for sure, they will be part directly or indirectly of these 2 training courses. So I'm finishing now. In terms of the impact of the GEO-SCHEMA project, this first project that we are implementing at the regional and interregional level, we're aiming to expand and promote UNESCO Global Geoparks, and this will bring balance to the geographical representation of UNESCO Global Geopark worldwide and relocate the resources also to these 2 regions, so we won't leave anyone behind. This is one of our motto. At the local level and through the designation of UNESCO Global Geopark, the local community of each site in terms of aspiring, they will be preparing themselves, and the one nominated, they will feel proud of their geological heritage. They will have the sense of ownership and recognize the significant value of their natural and cultural heritage. Thank you. And I'm not sure if we have room for question, if there's something unclear. And as mentioned, we'll send you the material in Arabic also, maybe next week. Thank you.
Gracias, Elsa. Muchas gracias por tu presentación, muy bien explicada el proyecto, y la verdad que valió la pena escucharte para recordarnos lo que nos queda por hacer, pero vamos a trabajar muy bien para poder avanzar en la verdad que interesante proyecto. Bueno, yo voy a hacer también una pequeña presentación comparada con la de Elsa, simplemente para relacionar a los geoparques con lo que es la economía creativa. Bien, ahora soy yo que tengo que share screen, here. Acá. Ok. Bien, espero que la vean. como la... Ok, gracias, Shannon. Más allá del proyecto, también queríamos relacionar nuestro programa, International Geoscience and Geopark Program in Latin America and the Caribbean, with the year or in the year of the creative economy. Regarding UNESCO, let me go like this. Regarding UNESCO Global Geoparks, there are some points I would mention that we'll keep in mind as we go through the concept of creative economy. Just as in the beginning, Lydia also said, networks are important. And as we always said also, when we talk about Geopark, SDG 17 is one of our goals, and that is because networks keeps us, or UGGP, UNESCO Global Geopark, as even Aspirant and project connected. Through Geoparks, through UNESCO Global Geoparks, local communities are supported, and they found, we learned that once they have their Geopark or their UNESCO Global Geopark, they are proud, they finally are proud of their territory, of where they live. And that's one of the objectives, trying to have the people that live there to keep living there and not moving to the cities, but finding there what to do. And again, here is what creative economy comes in. Okay, and of course, they are an inclusive social environment. Regarding one of the pillars, we have 3 pillars here, geo-education, which is constant learning, of course, not only students from schools or maybe even scientific work from university, but also society in general. We've learned a lot through different what we call different tourist routes we can do at Geoparks through geological conservation. So it built and disseminate knowledge, and then of course we look empowerment of women and youth. Again, keeping them where they are, not so they do not leave. Through geotourism, then people living there, young people mainly, and women find decent work, and of course, always looking to sustainable development. And again, conservation, heritage and conservation, not only in geological heritage, we have cultural heritage, and which are both very important in creative economy. As you see, I put creative expressions, we have festivals, we have arts, and then of course we have the conservation of sites of international geological value, which are one of the main points of Geoparks. Okay, as I see, UNESCO Global Geoparks and Creative Economy, we have UNESCO Global Geoparks celebrate geological, natural, and cultural heritage. This is a phrase we always say, and if we look at it closely, we can see that in that phrase, we can, it's embedded the concept of creative economy. Activities within UNESCO Global Geoparks are creative and contribute to sustainable development. Of course, we have a new type of entrepreneurship that take place once these territories are how to say, are converted, are finally accepted as a UNESCO Global Geopark. So they have a new brand. So the products they used to do become more systematized, and they start to work with more impetu. So the bottom-up approach integrates all communities within the territory to seek creative solutions to common problems, which is one of the main points also in Geoparks. And this is also what leads us to creative economy. And networking allows us to share best practices and experience among them. Okay. Geotourism and creative economy. Here in geotourism is one of the best of the pillars of Geoparks, is where creative economy, we find it really there. And why? Because we have many creative experience that for the first time we found it in UNESCO Global Geoparks as what we used to call georoutes, the way we used to do it, and we still do it. That's was new in the beginning. The different type of things we can do in these territories, and also different forms that could take creativity, like books, theater, animations, festival. In fact, all what is related with cultural heritage, which it is a main a main pillar of creative economy. And at this time, in this era, we have to deal and we have to work with technology and virtual reality. And since last year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic that we are still living on, this area has had a very important development. So creative economy has pushes for decent work and empowerment of women and youth. International business and local enterprises are incorporating this concept within their management schemes. So I think the UNESCO Global Geoparks heritage are sources for innovation in the field of creative economy, according of what I said. Geolocation also enters into the concept of creative economy. Keeping learning is fundamental for Geoparks community. Innovation and research are key for development, and creative expression, which are the results of innovation and research, help diversifying industries and new minor entrepreneurship. Okay, for example, these are some examples we have in some of the geoparks. Mainly, we can see what they can do to sell to tourists when they have it, when they have it to their territories. We call also geoproducts. And not only food, but also anything that can be done with hands and new type of raw materials like wool, like alpaca, like sustainable materials that can be used by many new industry that now are starting to take care of the environment, which is a good thing to say. Tourism guides and illustration, theater, as I said, arts and festivals, video production. There are many today, and we can see beautiful things through them. And it would be great to be able to have many of them, to make maybe a network with different channels or whatever to show what happens in geoparks. I think that would be a very good objective to follow. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any question, please let me stop sharing. Before we have 4 minutes before Nicola's presentation. So if you have any question, please, that is the time. We can at least answer one, then we come back. Okay, nobody. So please, I used to see it. Nicolas, are you there? You are in front of me. Okay, Nicolas, if you want to start your talk, or we can wait, of course. For 5 minutes, we wait. Okay, Nicolas is the president of the Global Geopark Networks. He was one of the person I met in the beginning when I started to work with geoparks. Seeing him working, I learned a lot. So let's wait until he's ready. And he will let us know, I'm pretty sure. ¿Y por qué no puedo? Hello, Nicolas. Did you listen to us?
Hello, Denise.
How are you? Very nice.
Fine, fine. I thought that it was another presentation before me.
Yes. No, it was Elsa and I who were talking. And then it was you.
Okay.
That, but we are very, very on time.
Thank you.
So please go ahead. I already presented you.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to participate in this workshop on I was asked to present my presentation on UNESCO Global Geoparks and the Global Geoparks Network. And I would like to be on time by using the 20 minutes that are available for this presentation. I would like to thank, first of all the organizers, UNESCO, and the two offices, the Montevideo and Cairo offices, for the invitation, as well as the Spanish Development Fund for giving the opportunity to organize this series of activities. Without any doubt, Spain is a very important country with the biggest number of UNESCO Global Geoparks after China. And for us in the Global Geoparks Network, is always a pleasure to collaborate with the colleagues in Spain for the development of geoparks worldwide. Today is, in my opinion, is a very important day. On the 27th of September, the World Tourism Organization is celebrating the International Day of Tourism. And this year, the theme of this celebration is tourism for inclusive growth. And I would like to emphasize that by using this opportunity, we have to emphasize that geoparks are not for the few, but for the society at large. As it helps the globalization of their geological, natural, and cultural heritage, to build resilience, to overpass difficulties, to create new jobs, and to help the youth to remain in the different areas hosting this heritage of international importance, and create better days for these communities. So we're talking about, and geoparks are working for a tourism for all, which diffuses the benefits from the tourist activities. That's why geotourism is so important for these parts of the globe. And COVID-19 pandemic learned us, and we celebrate geoparks also because are territories of resilience. In spite of the difficulties, geoparks manage to continue their activities, to remain as a network of territories connected, having the opportunity of exchange of know-how and experiences through these years. And that's why geoparks are ready to build the next day, the day after the pandemic. And after the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to restart, to overpass the dramatic consequences for health and economy, and to improve nature and biodiversity conservation in an holistic manner, to address the destruction of wildlife habitats, to take urgent measures to address wildlife trade, and to address climate change. And in this way, through these targets, I think that geoparks can meet the next day after the COVID-19 pandemic? Well, a few historic elements. The idea for building geoparks, always with support of UNESCO, started in 2000 when the first network of geoparks was created in Europe. Spain, France, Germany, and Greece were the first countries. And then in 2004, under the auspices of UNESCO again, the first UNESCO International Conference on Geoparks took place in Beijing, China, with the support of IUGS and IUCN. And that's how the global network was built. For several years, we worked together with UNESCO in order to strengthen this new initiative, and through a variety of conferences, the number of geoparks continuously increased. In 2010, we had 77 global geoparks, and then in 2012, we were already 92. And in Stonehammer in Canada in 2014, we had 111 global geoparks. And at that moment, it was for the benefit of the geoparks that UNESCO took the initiative to integrate the Global Geoparks Network into the International Geoscience and Geoparks Program. And that's how we had the creation of the UNESCO Global Geopark, as Christophe said before, the third site designation of UNESCO. At that time, we were 120. In 2016, we became 127. And then Adamello Brenta, even more. But nowadays, we have 168 UNESCO Global Geoparks in 44 countries. 88 of them are in Europe, 66 in Asia and Pacific, 8 in Latin America and Caribbean, 5 in North America, and 2 in Africa. We do know that this geographical unbalanced distribution should change. And that's why we're working with the colleagues in Latin America and Caribbean and in Africa in order to increase the number of geoparks in these continents. And for us, is extremely positive the fact that we have many applicants from this region. This is the map of the UNESCO Global Geoparks. The geoparks is a new initiative concept. We have spoken many times about that, on Earth heritage protection and management as a tool for sustainable local development. What offer such the existence of a global geoparks network to support the initiative of UNESCO to establish the UNESCO Global Geopark is the continuous networking and collaboration. It's the sharing of know-how, which helps us to build more efficient, more healthy, and more effective UNESCO Global Geoparks around the globe. And of course, we follow the rules that have been adopted by the General Conference of UNESCO. UNESCO Global Geoparks are single and unified geographical areas where sites and landscapes of international geological significance are managed with an holistic concept of protection, education, research, and sustainable development. The geopark characteristics are the territory, which is extremely important, the population living in this territory, its heritage, its socioeconomic characteristics, the accessibility, and of course the existing infrastructure that will help further visitors to come there to visit the territory and then help the local economy to increase. For geopark operation, we need a strong management body, a legal entity which will be able to manage the territory. We need, of course, the adequate staff, including geoscientists. We need the budget for the activities of the geopark. We need partnerships at the local, national and international level. We need a lot of networking for the exchange and sharing, which will help the Geopark management body to gain from the experience of others. Of course, we need sites of interest where the Geopark visitors will go, and we need inventories for that. We need a management plan for these sites of interest. Of course, we need infrastructure like paths, like info centers, museums, interpretation panels, and many others, and a variety of activities, because the people who come in the geoparks need to find such a variety of different activities, including geotourism, activities in nature, activities related with local traditions and cultural sites, and of course activities related with sports, and also activities related with local gastronomy. And in all our activities we need monitoring and review, because what we are doing maybe is not the appropriate for each one of these territories. So we always have to look back to what we are doing and improve our interventions and activities. The geopark resources are not just the geopark heritage, which has to be seen in an holistic manner, but also the local communities, the human capital that helps the geopark and gives the strength to continue. Geoparks need the bottom-up approach. With this bottom-up approach, we engage local communities to what we are doing and what we are thinking that will be the best solution for local development. And to do that, we need a sustainable development strategy, which should be agreed with the local population. And let's go again to see the geoparks heritage. Geoparks heritage includes landscapes and sites of aesthetic value. And in most of the cases, due to the interaction of humans with these landscapes, in Mediterranean, but in other parts of the world, we also have cultural landscapes, which have been built due to this interaction. And of course, we have the geological heritage, the geosites, the rocks, the fossils, the landforms. But it's not only the geological heritage which is important for the building of a geopark, but also the areas of ecological value, biodiversity, habitats, protected areas, play a vital role to the activities of the geopark. And of course, the cultural heritage, which has been attributed to the natural landscapes, both tangible and intangible, through the passage of generations of inhabitants on this territory. So geoparks landscapes have a lot of information due to the process that form each one of these territories. And here we see a beautiful landscape from the Alps. Why we need UNESCO Global Geoparks and the Global Geoparks Network working together in order to have better and more efficient results? Because UNESCO Global Geoparks is the mechanism of quality controls, for this program. The Council is the body that actively works for this quality control. And the tool that the Council is using is the Geoparks evaluation and revalidation exercise, which comes to prove that geoparks are keeping its quality label at a high level. And of course, we use the desktop evaluation for evaluating the level of the geological heritage through the and the whole process is coming to a positive result through the evaluators' mission in the field and the report that is evaluated by the Council. While the Global Geoparks Network is the operational mechanism for all the activities that collectively geoparks are doing in order to keep their high level of operation. The Global Geoparks Network Executive Board meets regularly in order to coordinate these activities. These activities dealing with networking and capacity building, which is a tool for improving the geoparks operation and management. And to do that, we use the working groups, common tools, and common events. The Global Geoparks Network has a structure, which is the General Assembly with the presence of all UNESCO Global Geoparks at an equal basis, has an executive board with a president, 2 vice presidents, treasurer, a general secretary, and 8 members, an advisory committee with representatives of all the nations participating in this program. Of course, international working groups uses the international conferences on geoparks as a forum of exchange among geoparks, and of course, regional geopark networks, which at each continent help the networking and exchange between geoparks. We also use the national geopark committees and fora at the national level. And of course, we have the operational secretariat, which helps us to operate in the proper way. And this is the GGN Executive Board. But I want to stop in the geopark networking because this, as the geopark statutes say, is the main element for the improvement of the activities of geoparks. Networking among global geoparks is taking place both at the local, national, regional, and global level, and seems to be the main factor for their success worldwide. Networking among global geoparks is playing a crucial role in facilitating the sharing of good practices among geoparks, exchange of experiences on geoconservation, geotourism, and geoeducation, exchange of personnel, formation of joint initiatives and projects, creation of common promotional tools, organization of common geopark activities such as educational programs, festival, local art feasts, and participation in tourist fairs. And these are some of the pictures that show how geoparks are working, sitting together, working together, exchanging together. This is the first conference of the Latin American and Caribbean, which took place in Araripe in November 2010. And this is the first GeoLAC Coordination Committee in 2018. The African Geoparks Network was formed with the support of GGN in Morocco in November 2019. And we are hoping that this network will also help, and the support of all regional networks, I have to say, this network will help the spread of the activities of geoparks in Africa. And of course, due to COVID-19, this first African UNESCO Global Geoparks Conference didn't took place in May 2020, but we are waiting with the end of the pandemic that we'll meet all together in Arusha in Tanzania in order to see and exchange with the aspiring geoparks in Africa new perspectives for the creation of new geoparks. GGN working groups are working on specific themes. For example, we have geoparks working groups working on volcanic areas, on geohazards, on geological heritage assessment, on SDGs implementation, on education, on geoparks. We also have a communication commission. Geoparks common activities include the International Geoparks Conference, a joint initiative between GGN and UNESCO Secretariat, regional geopark conferences and workshops, capacity building activities, participation in tourist fairs, geopark events at the national level, communication tools, and the best practice awards. Some of the activities are, of course, the international conferences, and between 12 and 16 of December 2021, the 9th International Conference on UNESCO Global Geoparks will take place digitally in Jeju in Korea. We also organize capacity building activities, the International Intensive Course on Geoparks, which takes place every year in Lesbos, Geopark mentorship and knowledge exchange programs, regional workshops in different continents, advisory missions in aspiring geoparks. From this year, we have established a new initiative for Africa and Arab states, and already 4 geoparks have been selected, aspiring geoparks have been selected for supporting them with advisory missions and guide them through UNESCO and the Global Geoparks Network in order to build new geoparks in Africa. This is the photo of the participants of the International Intensive Course on UNESCO Global Geoparks in Lesbos in 2019. We also organize such events also in Latin America. I recall in Mexico City in May 2015, which helped the spread of the idea in all Latin America. And of course, the International Intensive Course on Geoparks Management in Beijing, which happens every year in China. And of course, this was this year's the course, which happened digitally. And of course, the Geopark Mentorship and Knowledge Exchange Program. This is a visit of Kenya aspiring Geoparks delegation in Lesbos Island UNESCO Global Geopark in 2019. The GGN helps the spread of information between geoparks through the GGN newsfeed. It has also helps the spread of the idea on geoparks through the website visitgeoparks.org, organizes the new film fest, which will be an international festival on geopark videos, and this celebrates the International Day, for example, the International Earth Day, the International Museum Day, the International Environmental Day, the International Day of Disaster Reduction on the 13th of October, and on 11 December, the International Mountain Day. As I said in the beginning, geoparks are also celebrate the International Day of Tourism, as geotourism is one of the main activities of geoparks. These are some of our posters, and the GGN is also partner of the World Tourism Organization to celebrate today the International Day of Tourism. And of course, we have been partners in the International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development, which was celebrated in 2017. Geoparks, the GGN is also coordinating the image of geoparks in the tourist market. We meet in ITB Berlin, the biggest fair. These are some of the pictures in Fitur, in Madrid, in Hong Kong. We also work with press conferences. We meet the international tourism agencies. We participate in Expo in Milan. We support the presentation of books like this one, The Spanish Geoparks, which was presented in Fitur in 2020. This is the celebration with my colleagues of all the Spanish geoparks. And this is the promotion of geoparks in tourist Spana, where you can see also Asier Hilario, who is with us today, with other colleagues, presented the UNESCO Global Geoparks in Spanish tourism operators or all around and from other countries participating in Fitur. Why tourism is so important? Because tourism helps to bring these rural areas that host significant geological heritage to the market and help these areas not to be abandoned by their population, but to keep creating new opportunities for the new generation to live in these areas by valuing their heritage and build new opportunities for work and economic activities in the future. And this is the Expo Beijing in 2019, a huge expo in which we celebrate the Geoparks Day with Chinese colleagues in a huge event that was organizing there to celebrate the power of geoparks to improve the living conditions of the communities, especially in rural and mountainous area, in islands and coastal areas all around the globe. The GGN is also promoting UNESCO Global Geoparks through different publications. Some of them you can see now, and also through the GGN newsletter. UNESCO Global Geoparks is a new strong brand, quality brand all over the globe. And what we have to do together is also today's celebration for the International Tourism Day is to celebrate geoparks as sustainable tourism destination that will use the tourism for the benefit of all, spreading the benefit of tourism activities to the society and helping those who are less strong to find their own way in life, helping, hoping for better days for the humanity, for our planet, for the single communities everywhere in the world. So thank you very much for your attention.
Querido Nicolás, muchísimas gracias por tu presentación, siempre muy interesante, siempre aprendiendo algo nuevo sobre los geoparques y sobre su relación con el turismo, con el geoturismo, que es una de las cosas que señalamos se relacionaba mucho con lo que estamos presentando con el seminario de hoy. Así que la verdad que muchísimas gracias, Nicolás, por aceptar estar presente hoy día. Bien, la próxima persona en hablar es mi amiga Martina Paskova, a quien agradezco de sobremanera, dado que la participé a último momento, y ella aceptó muy amablemente, por lo que van mis muchas gracias, Martina. Adelante, cuando tú quieras. Perdón, quería mencionarles que era miembro del Consejo Mundial de Geoparques. Olvidé comentar quién eras. Excuse me.
Muchas gracias. Hello, everybody, dear colleagues, estimated colleagues. Buenos días, buenas noches. I'm really honored and pleased to present today this kind of presentation. So I will try to share if I succeed.
Perfecto, se ve perfecto.
So my presentation is focusing on the culture industries using traditional knowledge. So basically, it's really about the local knowledge-based economy, and of course, all these connections to activities like tourism and local traditions. What to say about the local creative economy? It's something quite natural. People are naturally creative, naturally curious. So this is something that needs to be supported by various institutions, local and national authorities. I feel it like, or I perceive it like fire, this kind of creativity. And it needs to be somehow supported, regulated, inspired, guided. Because fire, as we know, it's really something which was at the beginning of the civilization and creativity of the civilization. We know, like, the ceramic can be generated, dancing around the fire. Also cohesion of society, which is connected with the peacemaking and joy or safety, because we can have the food and warmth. But on the other hand, the fire cannot distract, destroy. We know it from various cases like exploitation of nature, wars, etc. We know Inquisition from our history, which is connected with fear from progress. So these are both sides of the fire. It can help, it can destroy. And this is the same with creativity. So we need somehow to support and inspire this kind of fire of imagination and emotion in people's heart and brains. And it could be nourished and inspired through a kind of shared and transmitted knowledge to create and not to destroy the values, shared values. I like to speak also about the ecosystem as a natural capital for local economies, local activities based on the shared and transmitted knowledge. These are based actually on the personal creativity of local people. As we can see from examples from Moravia, my country, Czech Republic, the really local vice senior person, she is generating very nice decoration on the houses with the local traditional minerals and local kind of, let's say, decoration, painting, but she used her own creativity to create this kind of flowers or anything. And she's also transmitting this kind of creativity or knowledge or know-how to younger generation, to young girls in the Moravian village. And the same model we can see in China, in Mexico, in other parts of the world. So I think that this kind of transmission is really a verified way of training, the best one maybe. So what we need in the localities with creative economy, we need to support local traditional and emerging institutions like Council of all the Elders, Consejo de Ancianos, or other institutions which are really pivotal for the transgenerational transmission. This is basic, mainly for indigenous knowledge, which needs to be reactivated and supported. So if we are speaking, why I am speaking about the kind of ecosystem services? Because the local and mainly indigenous people are really strongly connected with the nature, with local ecosystem. Without any science, they understand really perfectly how it works, which is kind of carrying capacity of these ecosystems, and how much they can take from the nature without destruction. This is normally very local knowledge, with the knowledge of local species and local processes, and they accustom their economy to this knowledge. And this local specialized knowledge needs to be supported and continuing to continue with the younger generation. We know that could be problem because the younger generation is not so used to take this kind of precious knowledge from elders. So this is something which needs to be not trained, but supported. As I was speaking about, for example, Consejo de Ancianos and other institutions in local and indigenous communities. The kind of ecosystem services is also important when we are speaking about endogenous economy, which is internal, using local services, local knowledge, not something imported, which makes very long chains, I mean market chains. So the ecosystem services is something what indigenous and local people perceive each day, because they don't think about it scientifically, they work with it, they live with it, and they understand how much they depend on these ecosystem services, which are given to them 22 hours per day. So they don't perceive it as externalities of the market, but the dominant society, and we in Europe, distant a little bit from the nature production, we have it as externalities, these ecosystem services. This is big difference. This is a disadvantage, modern people, modern society, which has ecosystem services as externalities of the market, and they are not calculated in the price of the product. This is something very dangerous, and this is why we are using sometimes natural resources without understanding the values, which is not reflected in the price. So why I'm speaking about this? Because I'm telling that the local people and indigenous people understand sometimes much better without science these things and these mechanisms. Indicator for success normally is diversity of local economy, nature, and culture. All these three diversities are very important for successful development and progress. And in this context, tourism never ever should be kind of substitute of the traditional economies, but it should be complementary to support the diversity of local creative economies. It can help with authenticity, stability, and self-sufficient local economy. Endogenous development is needed. So I'm going to kind of holistic approach, which is very, very necessary in creative economy. We can call it, if you want, geo-bio-culture approach. This is kind of, this is based actually on a geo-bio-cultural heritage, which is as heritage. Something with which we are dealing in geoparks normally. So this kind of heritage is actually kind of knowledge and innovations, practices of local and indigenous communities that are collectively held and inextricably linked and shaped by social ecological context of communities. This is very complicated definition, but simply this is something transmitted from generation to generation, connected to local ecosystem, verified by very, very long time of customs, of practice of the local people. So I think that conventional training may not work in some cases of really indigenous communities, and that the gradually and mutual, we are not teaching, we are also learning. I mean, for example, dominant society. So mutual and gradual learning on personal basis, not big courses in the schools or something like this. It shouldn't work. Speaking about tourism, because Nicolas stressed this issue, and of course he's right, because this is actually the most important creative part, or part of creative economy, visible everywhere and very important for geoparks. So we can speak about kind of special interest tourism. These forms of tourism are now emerging, or last decades are emerging, like geotourism. So we know that geo is not just geology, that we are speaking about Earth, Gaia, geo, Pachamama. So it's actually learning about and enjoying the Earth in all its aspects, holistically, abiotic, biotic, culture, this kind of ABC approach. So could be georafting, could be geocastrotourism, for example, so using geofood, but always we are speaking about Earth. Cohabitation tourism, something very important for creative economy and for fair tourism, not to make kind of touristic development in one destination and leave the local and indigenous in pure conditions. This is not the fair tourism. This is not the sustainable tourism. So cohabitation tourism makes the same living for tourists and for local and indigenous people to really understand the authentic life. Community tourism, connected tourism, volunteer tourism, astrotourism, something so important for geoparks and the understanding Earth and its context. Slow tourism, slow down in the rapid economy to keep on the rhythm of the nature. Dark tourism, the mythology, team building. Of course, we are teams in geoparks and we need to survive or experience kind of critical situation and some adventure to support a teaming approach. Ecotourism, of course, and we can go on, etc. Just example from my favorite Iceland, volcanic Iceland, Eastern Iceland. So Rapanin volcanic culture is an example of creative economy. Of course, I see on this very small island, total volcanic island, a lot of training focusing sustainable tourism, understanding carrying capacity of the small island, which is smaller than Bohemian Geopark, Bohemian Paradise Geopark, sorry. So this is very, very small area. So they really need to understand the carrying capacity approach. They have courses on it, their own indigenous courses. They have the approach how to guide, how to make tourist a friend, not client. The friend who is really cohabitating everything and enjoying all the activities of the indigenous during their day. So this is really based on narrative beliefs and customs of Rapa Nui society. This is creative economy. From, again, Moravia, my region, Czech Republic. So we have also some histories and recent stories connected with kind of curaderas. These are goodies. They were persecuted by Czech communism regime because they were healing with practices not corresponding with communism regime and ideology. So nowadays, currently, this village Jitkova is quite not heavy, but visited by curious tourists because they want to see the place of this kind of curaderas, this kind of healing goddess. So again, there's kind of potential for this creative economy based on the very local knowledge. Of course, again, Bohemian Paradise Geopark, the creativity based on the local knowledge of the woman. She is the only in the Czech Republic knowing this kind of skill. All this you can see is made from kind of cane or reed, if you want, and her father learned her this skill, but she is the only one in Czech Republic. So it needs continuation. So she began with the training of some local girls, but it needs support from local authorities and the national authority as well. I'm speaking about all these kinds of creativity in local economy or the local tourism or geotourism, but it has also kind of dangers inside, kind of small devil as always. So this devil should be prevented. We know that sometimes the local and mainly indigenous people are not employed in quite honest situations or conditions, as I could see in Haiti on the border with Dominican Republic, where the larimar, the semi-precious stones, pectorite, is mined. This is the only place in the world. So this is the basic souvenir for tourists here. But nobody from tourists is acknowledged in which conditions the local people are working. So this is something which need to be prevented in the creative economy. It can't be based on this situation. And also we need to be aware of danger of staging, because if we are basing all these tourism activities on local indigenous knowledge, on various traditions which are quite exotic for visitors, there's always this kind of danger. It could be commercialized and staged. So Nicolas always mentioned everything about geoparks and in connection with creative economy. So again, I will stress a little bit the ecosystem services, which are the basic for local knowledge and creative economy. We need also understand the ecosystem services and all connected with it in interconnectivity. Biodiversity, geodiversity, and cultural diversity are totally interconnected, and they create biodiversity. Geodiversity is part of ecosystem function, and all together is the base of Earth heritage, which is used by geotourism, geoeducation, and we are trying to conserve it with the local people and their knowledge, of course. We are speaking also about this kind of ABC approach. This is exactly what I told, this kind of interconnectivity when we are interpreting various geosites and geoheritage or Earth heritage in geoparks. So again, the local approach, local knowledge in this interpretation and infrastructure for visitors is needed, as we can see from Colca and Volcano Valles geopark in Peru. Also from this geopark, I'm just illustrating the interconnectivity of this abiotic, biotic, and cultural aspect of Earth heritage, because as you know, the corn is the really iconic crop in this area of Altiplano of this region, and it is something biotic, of course, but it's going from the soil, volcanic soil in this region of Valley of Volcanoes region, and the rituals connected with Pachamama are based on this crop of corn. So this is which is example of interconnectivity. So always if we are speaking about geotourism, I would prefer the kind of Mother Earth tourism or Pachamama tourism, to be clear that we are not speaking that just about geology. And we have various activities. They are always connected with all these three aspects and interpretation based on the local knowledge. And in this case, authenticity really matters. We don't have creative economy or creative tourism without authenticity. If we lose it, if we are staging or just commercializing, doing universal activities which are the same in all the world or all the geoparks, we are losing the magnet for tourists and visitors, and we are losing basically the local identity, which is the most important thing. So this is something which needs to be taken very careful. So of course, local handcrafts are the part or the basic part of creative economy, as we know, but they have stories connected to all these know-hows, all these skills, and these stories are the most attractive for tourists, but also again, they are basis for younger generation to transmit all the local and indigenous knowledge. So this is totally interconnected, as I told, the fire of creativity. It could be dangerous if you are staging and just commercializing, or could be very helpful if it's supportive for local and indigenous reactivating of their local and indigenous identity. So this is kind of challenge, of course. So just to see the scheme that we are always speaking about these products. So again, kind of mother of earth products or Pachamama products, very complex approach again based on the geopark actors' knowledge and local indigenous involved again. ABC concept is important again. We know this concept of geofood, so famous. So it is based really on productive and cultural services of Mother Earth again. And that the connections we need to create we have these stories, but we need to interpret these stories for all the actors, not only to visitors, but mainly for a young generation and children in the place, because sometimes they are lost. So this is important message. So geology and beer, emergency food from Muroto Geopark during various critical situations connected with tsunami and other critical times. So the local women, senior women, they have this kind of emergency food as a very creative approach. And of course, from Azores, geothermal energy everywhere. Muroto again with the deep sea water geoproducts, very traditional, very local economy. And other examples of this geofood, again from Azores, geothermal energy, from Creta Psiloritis Geopark, fantastic geologically based or earth heritage-based creative economy. I should finish, probably. So just an examples from Las Loras Geopark, Azores Geopark, and for example, volcanic stones in Vulcanifo from Rio Coco Geopark, and also kind of traditions which are part of creative economy, and again, kind of handcrafts from Korea, China. So all these are examples of local economy. So let me finish with the example of cohabitation tourism, which I mentioned before, because I thought the fair tourism and fair condition for local people with the same rights to the progress as tourists. This is something which is for me the very basic part of the local creative economy. So this is what how to progress. I would stress mainly a promotion of benefits of traditional knowledge and as a part of self-sufficient community and economy, and methodology and code of ethics, basically, for training on local indigenous knowledge-based skills and activities for fair, creative economy. So many thanks. As I told, the Colca Geopark, Volcanos Geopark from Peru, my memory is really strong connected to the Colca Canyon. When I met the mayor, indigenous mayor, when speaking about the tourism sustainability, he told me this kind of answer, that we have hotels with 1,000 stars, look on the sky outside. So thanks for your attention, and sorry if I was long.
Gracias, Martina. Preciosa presentación, como siempre. Muy buenas tus palabras, muy bien alineadas con lo que estamos presentando. Clara, además, como siempre. Así que te agradezco mucho. Perdona que te tuve que parar, pero si no se nos va haciendo cada vez más tarde. Me hubiera gustado seguir escuchándote. Bueno, la próxima persona que está con nosotros y que presenta es nuestro amigo, alguien que conocemos desde hace tiempo, Asier Hilario, que es el Chairman of IUGS International Commission on GeoHeritage y Scientific Director of the Basque Coast Geopark. Adelante, Asier, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, Denise, muchas gracias, muchísimas gracias. Por supuesto puedes decir querido Asier, que era lo que te venía a la cabeza. Muchísimas gracias. Well, dear colleagues, it's a pleasure for me to have been invited to this very interesting webinar. So on behalf of IUGS also, we are very pleased to participate in this kind of activities organized by UNESCO and related to UNESCO Global Geoparks. So thank you very much to all the organizers. So I will just take a minute to share my presentation, and I will try to adapt my presentation to the time schedule. So is it okay? Can you see it properly? ¿Está bien?
Sí, perfecto. Perfecto, okay. Se ve muy bien.
Okay, so well, I'd like to talk to you about basically about geoconservation, about the role, the very important role of UNESCO Global Geoparks doing a good management of geological heritage, because geoconservation is one of the, I would say, distinguishing tools that UNESCO Global Geoparks have. I'd like to start my presentation with this slide, which is not related to geoheritage, it's not related to geoparks, it's not related to geoconservation, it's very much related to our position on Earth. And I think that we live in a very beautiful world, but at the same time, we live in a very strange world where more than 50% of the world population lives in big cities. And we should not forget this. We expect that this number will increase up to 70% in the year 2050. So that means a lot of millions of people living in these big labyrinths of cement. So really, I think that we need to reconsider our position on Earth, because we really know that the way we are living in the last decades, it's affecting very seriously many of the different natural systems on Earth. And I'm really convinced that in order to reconsider our position on Earth, the memory of the Earth, geological heritage, it's one of the tools, it's one of the main ideas, strong ideas, philosophical ideas that has to be taken into account. I'm coming from this beautiful geopark. This is the Basque Coast UNESCO Global Geopark, where the memory of the Earth has been written very, very clearly in these layers of rock. By considering the memory of the Earth, by considering geological heritage, as part of the solution to reconsider our position on Earth, we can understand that geographies change, We can understand that landscapes change. We can understand that nothing is forever. We can understand that the landscape that we have in front of us is just the last slide of a much, much longer story. It's just a matter of time. It's just time. It's a moving imagine of eternity, as Platon said. So we can really understand that we just arrived, that we are very small in this very vast amount of time. And accepting that we are small, accepting that we just arrived, it's a very good departing point to reconsider our position on Earth. By considering the memory of the Earth, by considering geological heritage, we also can understand where we come from. We can have, in some of our UNESCO Global Geoparks, we have a very interesting paleontological sites in which we can understand many things about our ancestors. We can understand who we are. And considering geological heritage, considering the memory of the Earth, is going to give us a very necessary context, tools, to understand what climate change is. UNESCO Global Geoparks do really work in favor of climate change, do really work to make awareness, to increase the awareness about the big challenge of climate change. We have real laboratories of climate change, with real laboratories to work in favor of climate change. And considering the memory of the Earth related to this is a great opportunity that we have to use. Also, considering the memory of the Earth, it's gonna give us very important information about the history of life, about big catastrophes. And it's gonna tell us that those big catastrophes has become into big opportunities many times. So, because the history of life, the evolution of life, it's written in many of the rocks of our UNESCO Global Geoparks. So it's just a matter of considering it, reading it, and learning from it. And just to finish, last main idea to understand why the memory of the Earth is a basic tool to reconsider our position on Earth. Because we need to understand that we live in a dynamic planet. We need to understand that we live in a dynamic planet, in a dynamic Earth that sometimes can be even dangerous, that has earthquakes, that has volcanoes. And we need to understand how the system works in order to be able to adapt to those systems and in order to be able to mitigate the effects of these natural, let's say, disasters or natural evolution of the Earth. So just taking into account the importance of the memory of the Earth, the importance of the geological heritage, like an important departing point to reconsider our position on Earth, is it well considered? So if we talk about geoconservation, I think that we have to go quite far. I would say that we could even go back to, let's say, the end of the 19th century. In the creation of the national parks in the United States, I would say that they were not talking about geological heritage. They were not talking about geoconservation, but they were really doing geological heritage. They were really considering the memory of the Earth in such a beautiful places like Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, or so on. Since then, we have seen many different local, national, regional, international initiatives related to geological heritage. But without any doubt, I would say that the Ding Declaration, it's the milestone in which the geological heritage, the memory of the Earth, it's recognized. And since then, we have seen many other initiatives coming together. I'm very pleased to say that I think that at the moment, there is a very, very good, very honest, very strong cooperation among the most important international organizations related to geological heritage, like International Union of Geological Sciences, UNESCO Global Geoparks Network, World Heritage Convention, etc. Because any program related to geoconservation, related to geotourism, related to geoeducation, should be based on the recognition of the geological heritage, on the conservation of the geological heritage, but basically on the recognition of the geological heritage. And I have to say that nowadays we are building a very strong and efficient network of cooperation among all these organizations. But apart from this, I would say, official recognition of geological heritage, for me, it is very obvious that some of the most important touristic destinations of the world are based on this big, spectacular geological landscapes, like the ones that you can see in the picture. So it is quite clear that a lot of millions of people in the world do appreciate the beauty and the significance of the geological heritage at a global scale. But I would say that, in my opinion, that's my opinion, UNESCO Global Geoparks are the really lighthouses for the conservation of the memory of the Earth. Apart from many different other, let's say, like many different appreciations that we can have, I really think that UNESCO Global Geoparks have been the best idea ever for the conservation of the Earth heritage. But the first thing that we have to say is that if we talk about geoconservation in UNESCO Global Geoparks, we have to say that UNESCO Global Geoparks do not have a direct legal capacity. So how can we work in geoconservation if we don't have a legal capacity? So we have something much more powerful than that. We can work on geoconservation because we have education, because we have the local communities involvement, because we work on geotourism, because we do local management, sustainable local management. So we basically try to make people, our people, local people, understand the value of our geological treasures. So I would say that this working on geoeducation, geotourism, etc., UNESCO Global Geoparks have demonstrated that the holistic approach is the best approach that we can have. If we want to be effective just on the conservation of the geological heritage, it's much more effective to talk about people, to get the involvement of people, like we can see in this picture. And that's what we do. UNESCO Global Geoparks do work for the conservation of the geological heritage, for geoconservation. But basically, we work with the development, with the Sustainable Development Goals. UNESCO Global Geoparks, for example, are territories of science. We promote research, we promote investigations related to geoconservation. We need to know how many people, we need to know how we can use our geological heritage. UNESCO Global Geoparks are territories of education. UNESCO Global Geoparks are basically territories with future, because through this education, through these geo schools, we can get the involvement of these children with their territory. I'm going to show a picture of one of my best experiences in my experience in UNESCO Global Geoparks. This is the smallest geo school in Icalupe, in Nicaragua, in Rio Coco UNESCO Global Geopark. Some of these geo schools are really lighthouses for the people living in these territories. So in those places, sometimes geology is not the most important thing, but working with people, working with children, working with local people, empowering them, it's a very effective tool to work even just for geological heritage. So we should not forget that UNESCO Global Geoparks are not just about geology, are mainly about people. And working with people, we can be very effective, very, very effective, much more effective than many other ways towards the recognition and the conservation of geological heritage. Of course, we need to have this kind of infrastructures for the conservation of our geological heritage. We need to do ongoing training like this one in Lesbos UNESCO Global Geopark. Geoconservation and geotourism are very much related. The best we work on geotourism, the best it's going to be our geoconservation. I would say that geotourism is probably the most innovative destination of sustainable tourism. And that's probably like saying too much. But I would say that this is like this because what we are offering, it's really connected to the earth. It's really connected to the geological heritage, but not only to the geological heritage, it's connected to the territory. It's connected to the local people, to the local products. And it's made for the local benefit. And again, as Martina said, it's this holistic approach of understanding the abiotic, the biotic, and the cultural components of any territory. UNESCO Global Geoparks are territories to be surprised, are territories to be surprised in places like this with submarine volcanoes, are territories to be surprised, are territories to explore, but not only the beauty of the landscape. We have to be able to transmit the message behind the landscape. The memory of the earth, it's telling us many beautiful and many interesting stories behind the landscape. We have to be able to transmit properly all these stories. In many UNESCO Global Geoparks, we can even travel to the heart of our planet in places like this. And UNESCO Global Geoparks are territories to share. We do networking. We really much care about networking. We can share our experiences on geoconservation in different parts of the world. And that's something very, very, very valuable. And obviously, UNESCO Global Geoparks are territories of passion. We are people, we'll work with people. We are in love with the heritage that we have in our territories. So there is no other way. We work with passion. So I think that UNESCO Global Geoparks are, like I said at the beginning, lighthouses for the conservation of geological heritage, because we have demonstrated that working on geoconservation, it's a very important way to be proud of your territory, to be proud of your geopark, to be proud of being part of UNESCO. So just to finish with, why UNESCO Global Geoparks should work on geoconservation? Because UNESCO Global Geoparks are obliged to take care of their geological heritage. We have that responsibility. We have the responsibility to take care of the memory of the Earth, because this is one of the main topics that make us different. Working with the memory of the Earth make UNESCO Global Geoparks something unique, because geoconservation is directly related to geotourism. Because geoconservation is directly related to the territory, not only to the geological heritage, but much more to the territory, because we respect the memory of the Earth. Thank you very much.
Asier, querido Asier, ahora sí, muchísimas gracias por tu presentación, siempre muy clara, siempre amena y además que te motiva a querer a los geoparques, como bien tú dices, con esa fotografía preciosa que has puesto en las presentaciones. Así que de verdad te agradezco mucho por estar aquí presente.
Un placer.
Bueno, no, por favor, ya te buscaremos de vuelta, ya te buscaremos de vuelta. Bien. Ahora la modalidad del workshop, del taller, del summit, vaya uno a saber todavía workshop, el nombre, va a cambiar. Tenemos con nosotros un gran artista que acá les presento, Jimmy Nelson, a quien voy a dejar que se presente a sí mismo, porque realmente lo que yo escuché cuando tuve la oportunidad de hablar con él fue realmente muy bonito, y no soy yo quien para repetir sus propias palabras. Así que Jimmy, te voy a dejar ahora en un ratito, te voy a dar la palabra. Quien próximo va a hablar, se me fue, había prendido la cámara. Tenemos a Guy Martini con nosotros, que está así también, como varios de los que están presentes desde los comienzos del concepto, fue uno de los creadores del concepto de geoparques, y he escuchado charlas donde él relacionaba el concepto de arte con geoparques, y por supuesto ha trabajado también con pueblos originarios sin geoparques. Y finalmente tenemos a Ega Chulipín, también miembro del Consejo Mundial de Geoparques, que siempre nos ha apoyado acá en Montevideo, en la oficina en Montevideo, con lo que hacemos y cuyo conocimiento se... Aló, Gui, ahora sí te podemos ver, por suerte. Así que bueno, y quien va a moderar esta sesión va a ser nuestra directora Lidia Brito, a quien le agradecemos la idea también del formato de la misma, ¿no? De esta sesión. Así que, bueno, Lidia, en primer lugar te voy a dar la palabra tú para que empieces y así los colegas se pueden presentar.
Muchas gracias, Denise. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's great to be here, to be with Jimmy, with Guy, and with Elga. And after such inspiring presentations from Nicolas, Martina, and Asier, I think this panel couldn't be better framed with your presentations. I think you touched already the key issues that this panel will address. And that's why we called the panel New Journey for Geological and Cultural Heritage, because we believe, like Asier finished saying, it's about, the geoparks are about the memory of the earth, but the geoparks are also about people, with people, for the people, and how the geological heritage and the cultural heritage really make the geoparks really a special site for inspiration, a special site for transformation, and I would say even a special site to find ourselves when we initiate the journeys visiting these wonderful, wonderful places. And therefore, it's a great pleasure for me and honor to moderate this panel with Jimmy Nelson, an artist, with Guy Martin, that is the president of UNESCO Global Geopark Council, and one of the creators of the concept. Guy, it's also a pleasure to have you here. And with Elga Scholepin, that is a member of also the UNESCO Global Geoparks Council. And Elga is working very closely with us in supporting aspiring geoparks, and she has really a lot of experience to share with us. But like Denise said, I will start with Jimmy. And Jimmy, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your passion for the arts? How and when did arts first cross your path, and why did you choose to pursue this specific art form? And what is the source of your inspiration, and what do you want to transmit with your work? Has it changed over time? For us, your work lives and breathes indigenous culture and knowledge preservation, educating and creating awareness, safeguarding cultural diversity. How do you believe art moves, touch people, and why is this so important? Jimmy.
Good. As you introduced yourself a few minutes ago, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and I hope it's not good night. I hope I keep you awake. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be here today. You've asked me a lot of questions, and I need to put it all into context. So I'm going to take from all of you about 20 minutes. I hope I take you away. I take you on a journey into my psyche, into my soul, into how I believe I understand myself. And hopefully after the 20 minutes, I come to some kind of organic conclusion as to how we could perhaps cooperate in taking your extraordinary initiative far further than it already is. I'm going to quickly share the screen with you now, and I'm going to put it on play. Can everybody see the screen? Yeah, okay, is everybody ready?
Yes.
Everybody ready? Yes. Everybody comfortable?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to break down the answer to 4 titles: when, where, how, and why. I'm going to begin with when. The geological theme is actually very important to me. My father was a geologist, actually a geophysicist. He, in his early 20s, he spent 8 years living in the Antarctic with the British National Antarctic Survey. He was very weird, a deep scientist, a professor. He claimed to speak 10 languages. He had a complete disability of communicating with human beings, let alone with me, but he loved stones. He loved his dogs. He loved being in a tent. And between the age of 22 and 30, he lived in the Antarctic. And his passion, his life was geology, nothing else, just his journey, just his discovery. And he had, when he came back to the UK, he had a family, here he is, and he had me. And unfortunately, I'm not a scientist. I'm not necessarily academic. I can only speak 1.5 languages. That's English and a bit of Dutch, which is a new dialect, which I call Dinglish. It's taken me 30 years to get to this personal dialect. But because of the first 7 years of my life spent with him, we lived in every different continent on the planet. And I feel as if, in an organic way, and this is a bit of a romanticization of it, I was a bit like a Mowgli, Rudyard Kipling's Mowgli. I lived in Papua New Guinea, in the Congo, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Turkey, Afghanistan, Venezuela. And he took me on this journey of discovery into the planet. As I said, I was not academic, but on that journey, I didn't necessarily discover the geology. I discovered the natural beauty of the world, but I discovered the people who lived there. I need to change this picture. 1 second, it's stalled. Go back out. Why is it not changing? Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. Mouse is gone. 2 seconds, I need to get somebody. Not ready. Bear with me, the screen's locked. Where's it gone? Okay.
Oh my God, I think that battery's moving.
Sorry, guys. Connection lost from the keyboard, which is great. No, the battery's run out. Okay, I need a cable. Okay, I'm going to keep talking and then we're going to connect the keyboard to the cable. So I traveled with my father. At the age of 7, they said, you can't read or write. There's a limit to how much of the world we can show and share with you. We're going to send you back to the UK. So they sent me back to the UK, to a very traditional English boarding school. And I was 7 years old. I arrived in that institution, trusting everything, trusting the world, trusting everybody in the world, and believed that we all cared and loved and wanted to educate one another. The boarding school was very specific. It was an institution, 1,000 children. I'll show you some pictures in a minute. 1,000 children, still doesn't change. 1,000 children and 400 priests. And I'm trying to concentrate on getting the screen changing. Okay. Technology.
No?
No. Nothing. Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk without pictures, and you're going to have to feel it. I went to this boarding school, and we're going to talk about pictures. Okay, we're going to talk about pictures. It's okay. I went to the boarding school, leave me alone. Okay. And what happened was what shouldn't have happened. I was very vulnerable. The priest was Catholic Jesuit, and they destroyed us as children. I'm not going to go into too many details, but there was severe sexual abuse, and I died as a child. The beauty that I'd felt for the world and that I loved with the world was taken away from me. My body disconnected from my soul, so to speak. I carried on traveling to where my father was working as a geologist, but I didn't feel anything. I became emotionally very, very handicapped because I couldn't connect to what had happened to me as a child. To the age of 16, I was very ill. I had cerebral malaria. We traveled back from the Congo, and I arrived back in this institution, and the priest gave me the wrong antibiotic. I woke up one morning feeling severely ill, 16, and looked in the mirror, and my hair had fallen out. What it felt like at the time, I mean, my kids say, Dad, don't talk about having no hair at the age of 53. Half of the world doesn't have hair at that age. And I said, I know you're right. But when you're 16, what happened was the ugliness I felt inside was now on the outside. I couldn't hide anymore. I couldn't hide the pain that I felt. So I ran away. This is my excuse for not being academically educated at the age of 16. And I went on a journey. And as a small child, I had an avatar. Obviously, there wasn't any digital world, so that's actually handy within this conversation, so I can't share pictures. And I hid under the covers, hiding from these priests, reading Tintin. In Dutch, we call him Kuifje. I would have a picture to show you. And he traveled around the world having adventures. And he went to Tibet. And I thought, well, the one place in the world where I could perhaps have empathy from the other could be in a land where all the children don't have hair. It was a very simplistic way of looking at it, and I disappeared between the ages of 16 and 19 and traversed across Tibet in the early 80s. I took a small camera with me, 4 rolls of analog film, and that was it. I came back 3 years later, much to the surprise of everybody, and it's okay. And those pictures were published, and that started a journey of using a camera to, not for the sake of photography, but to invest in the other. But the more I invested, the more beauty I felt, the more passion I felt, the more connection I could make without using a language, the more I could put them on a pedestal to show them, the more it became a mirror of the love I needed to feel for myself, if that makes sense. And it pushed me on a journey where I never studied. I carried on traveling incessantly till today, using a camera as an investment to look at the other and put them on a pedestal. So what has happened organically is I published a number of books a few years ago. There was a massive discussion because the pictures weren't too beautiful. The indigenous cultures that I'd been living with on and off for the past 30 years, trying to rediscover myself, people thought this couldn't be true. This was manipulated, it was staged, it was photoshopped. And that started the discussion within my work of, okay, what is beauty? What is objective? What is subjective? And what is real and what is fake? My argument was that all these indigenous cultures who up until recently we had perceived as being backward, impoverished, perhaps materialistic, poor, were the complete opposite by spending almost now 40 years celebrating them aesthetically, putting them on the pedestal we put ourselves on. When you go into a magazine shop and we're inundated with beauty, this is not real, this is an aspired beauty, but we never question it. If you indulge the world's indigenous communities with the same beauty, with the same honor, it starts a question. And the question is, I think, is that it hurts us. We're reminded, and rather cruelly and brutally, how in the developed world we thought we had it all, we knew it all, we'd covered everything in concrete, and we'd filled up our wallets with as much materialistic money that we could ever imagine. But there are human beings who live on the planet today. Relatively speaking, I showed some images a few weeks ago to some kids in a big presentation, and they looked a little bit sort of confused, and I screamed at the top of my voice, Avatar, and they all looked up at the screen and said, are you making Avatar 2? And I said, no, but I live and visit and share and photograph and film the living avatars, human beings that live with themselves, with one another, with their traditions, in a sort of very, very beautiful symbiotic balance with the natural world. So this is the impetus, this is the motivation behind the art and the discussion that it causes. Not so long ago, I had a very young, and you were talking a few minutes ago about education and people. That's where it's based on. But I think it's not only people, it's right, let's go back right to the beginning, it's children. We have to re-educate them. We have to inspire them. We have to make them fearless to the planet and to the other human beings in it. And I'm not only taking pictures, we're making films, we're making 360 films with quite exciting technology. But a young girl came into our studio and some parents had come in to buy an image and she was sort of bouncing around a little bit disinterested. And I said, would you mind putting these glasses on? And they're these Oculus Rift 360 glasses. And she put them on and she started walking around the studio. And all of a sudden she screamed at the top of her voice, wow, I am under a waterfall surrounded by naked men with yellow faces with feathers in their hair trying to touch me. And then she said, now I'm on a horse driving across a mountain with an eagle on my arm. Now I'm walking through a desert. And the very first thing her parents said to me and to her was, take those glasses off. This is very dangerous. And they looked at me and they said, how dare you put our daughter in such a dangerous place? Now, remember, she's standing in my studio here wearing these Oculus Rift glasses. There was nothing dangerous about it at all. As they went to her to take the glasses off her face, off her head, she pushed them away and said, leave me alone. And now she was 7 years old. She was the age I was here in this picture. And she said, I feel safe in these places. I want to go here. Mom and Dad, please promise me one day you take me to these people, these wonderful places, all these wonderful colors, these sounds, this music, the waterfalls in these mountains. I want to go there for real. And I think what I have by default touched on from this very organic, unscientific beginning is a deep indulgence and love and want to rediscover the natural world, the people who live in it in the most balanced way, and myself as a result of it. So the pictures I make are a mirror to redefine my own self-love, to recombine feeling and emotion with this body that was broken as a child, and metaphorically could become a catalyst for a further discussion. I'm about to finish. Last autumn, we had a very big presentation in Paris, very exciting presentation with an organization called Atelier de Lumière. They're opening 15 venues around the world, and they're hoping to open many more. And you walk into an area the size of a football field, enclosed, and it's dark. And in that football field, there are 480 beamers around behind me. We're making new installations. And for an hour long, you're taken on a digital journey of sound, of light, of films, of photographs, of stories, into these cultures, into the natural world that they live in. Now, it's very romantic, it's very indulgent, it's very much about telling a story. 9 out of 10 people who came to this installation and had no understanding, had no wish, had no desire. But the way we touched them emotionally, they were all brought to tears. And I'm convinced by storytelling, by art, by putting these places, this extraordinary natural heritage and the people who live within it in this very authentic way, on this artistic stage, we can reawaken human beings to redefine how we as individuals in the developed world can re-respect the natural world that we live in. I could go on for hours. I'm going to stop because you're stuck on one picture, which I'm still stuck on now. I apologize for that.
That's fine.
I suppose I'm an artist, but the art is not my art. The art is the indigenous cultures themselves. I'm the intermediary. I'm the journeyman. I'm the passenger trying to define my own humanity through their eyes and through this respect. This whole idea that if you put somebody on a pedestal without being able to communicate with them with a language, that they end up seeing me for who I am, seeing me for my integrity, my sincerity, for being Jimmy, not the way I look, not the way I feel. And this phenomenal rebalancing that you have with one another. I'm often questioned, aren't you afraid spending all these months traveling with cannibals through Papua New Guinea? Well, firstly, they're not cannibals anymore. Secondly, no, I'm 10 times safer there than here. If you present yourself in such a vulnerable way in those environments and you put your hands up like we should all be doing to the world and asking one another for help, you have no idea how delicately they take your hand. And they take you on a journey of understanding and connection in one of the most extraordinary ways that is unimaginable. So what I'm aspiring to do is through this weird, unusual journey I'm still on, is share that with the world. And I would be thrilled to discuss with you now what could be the potential possibilities of next time being able to show you pictures, which I talk about sharing with the world, but I can't show you now, and how we could, in a humble way, from my perspective, help one another.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for sharing your story and also the motivation and also the impact that you are getting in your journey, but that becomes also the journey of many, many people that have the chance to share and to interact through your artistic intervention. And hopefully we will have time to come back with other questions. But let me now to move to Guy Martini. Guy, what is the role of arts within UNESCO Global Geoparks? You have been working with the indigenous communities all over the world. How do you connect with them and build a relationship that is really based in trust, mutual respect, and as Jimmy said, as an inspiration journey? Guy?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Maybe we will have to cut the screen from Jimmy.
I can't get off the screen. My computer is locked. That's the whole problem. I'm trying to get out of it and I have no connection with the screen.
We will ask the technical people.
I'm sorry.
You know why?
Our technical people can do it.
Yes, we did it.
Yes, great.
Okay.
So thank you very much. I was listening, Jimmy, and it was it's a pleasure. It's a very good idea from UNESCO to have invited so sensitive and famous artists. And Jimmy, I have a lot of points in common with you. When I was listening to you, I was coming back also in my past, and I know your photo. You love Papua New Guinea. I've spent 1 year in tribes in Papua New Guinea. It was in the year 78. You know, it's
wow.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
So, and in many other places that you have shared, and I like very much your work, and I am a little bit frustrated that you didn't show now your photos. So
I apologize.
No, but we know your work. Well, the questions that you have given me are very different. What is art and what can give art to Geopark? And the second part is my experience with an indigenous people. So let's go quickly with art in Geopark. My vision is connected with all the story before the Geopark. And I am speaking about the years 80s again, when we begin to work on the notion of geological heritage, trying to recognize the value of a new heritage of the earth, which was the geological heritage. And as he was speaking about the declaration of the rights of the memory of the earth that we have taken in France in 91. So at this time, we were geologists. And the goal for us was not to teach to the people geology, but what is giving to us geology in the daily life. And for me, geology is giving us another time scale, a necessary time scale, billions of years of the earth, at a moment when the society where we are living in is going to work on a disapparition of time, to place all the people living in the instant, which is the best solution to not think and to buy and to consume. So for me and for us, for this team at this time, the goal was speaking about geology to introduce the time scale of the year. And when we are speaking about the time, we have a fantastic bridge with philosophers, with writers, with poets, with any kind of artist. And from the beginning, we begin to explain geology, but all the time working with artists. And I'm speaking about now UNESCO Geopark in France, Provence, which is one of the 4th geopark at the origin of this story, with Lesvos in Greece, with Vulcanefeli in Germany, and with Maestrago in Spain. So it was the years from 90 to 2000, a fantastic moment of exchange, experimentation on art, earth, and time. And maybe at this stage, I can share with you a video. It's in French, but it's subtitled in English. Denise, could you place and share with us the first video? We need the image to speak about.
Yes.
To speak about that.
Yeah. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Janan had it. Janan, había un video, había dos. El primero, ¿le pasas el primero?
Sí, estoy abriéndolo. Un momento,
Gracias.
por favor. ¿Se ve bien?
Mira, todavía no.
Ya,
Ahí.
ya. Ahora.
Bien, perfecto.
Le Géoparc de Haute-Provence est un lieu unique au monde, grâce à son patrimoine géologique et naturel, mais aussi par son lien privilégié avec l'art contemporain. Grâce au Cairn, centre d'art de Digne-les-Bains, et au musée Gassendi, le Géoparc est devenu, ces 20 dernières années, un musée naturel. Il abrite une immense collection d'œuvres contemporaines.
Historiquement, les musées sont toujours des endroits clos avec des œuvres à l'intérieur d'un bâtiment. Puis à la fin des années 70, des années 80, il y a eu des musées en extérieur, des musées en plein air. Et moi, j'ai adapté finalement ces deux filières, ces deux héritages pour que les collections du musée puissent se déployer en extérieur. Elles ne sont pas déployées sur n'importe quel territoire, elles sont déployées sur un territoire qui était très vaste, qui était celui d'un géoparc. En général, on a ça dans des parcs de sculptures. Mais là, on parle de centaines de milliers d'hectares. Donc, on est dans une dimension de territoire qui est extrêmement grand. Et en étant extrêmement grand, il est fortement diversifié. C'est-à-dire que les artistes qui vont travailler dans la vallée du Besse et puis ceux qui vont travailler dans la vallée de Trévence ne vont pas être dans le même environnement climatique, géographique, géologique, etc. Donc les œuvres, elles vont révéler, elles vont montrer, elles vont marquer ces différences de territoire. Et en cela, elles sont les révélateurs des situations.
Une trentaine d'artistes de renommée internationale fait partie de ce projet. Herman de Vries par exemple, Andy Goldsworthy ou encore Joan Fontcuberta. Et qui dit territoire important dit collection importante. Une centaine d'œuvres sont aujourd'hui dispersées sur le territoire du Géoparc de Haute-Provence.
Okay, donc an example of artwork that was done in this geopark is the result of 20 years. What the result of this work is to offering to the people a kind of new door, a kind of sensitive approach, a kind of spotlight, which open a new conscience to the landscape, to your environment, and asking you not only to have a cognitive process, but also to go inside with a sensitive process. And understanding this time of the years, understanding at the end the huge value of this geological heritage. To be short, because I think that I have just 7 minutes and I am off. If you are working on creative economy in this territory now with 130 artworks in 2,000 square kilometers, we have association of mountain guides, professional mountain guides, which have received professional training in contemporary art. And they offer 1 week discovery of the area, speaking about nature, speaking about landscape, but also speaking about contemporary art and about the importance of art in our daily life. So this is a short example. Denise, I am out of time, no?
Thank you,
yes,
you guys.
Yes, but there will be more questions, I think.
Yes, I will come back to you also, and just for our participants, we just put the link for Jimmy Nelson's website, where you can see the wonderful work that Jimmy is doing around the world, so that at least you can see some of his work. I'm moving now to our third panelist, Elga. There are many forms of expressing the cultural, natural, and geological heritage, including artifacts, books, multimedia, design, creative services, sports, tourism, art, contemporary art, as we just saw in the short video. How do these multidimensional forms of expression enhance celebrating the heritage in UNESCO Global Geoparks? And pursuing this alliance between the different global geoparks, how do you think we can also use this journey and this combination between the geological heritage and the cultural heritage to really build stronger alliances, partnerships among our sites? Elga.
Hello, hola Lidia, hola Jimmy, un gusto conocerte, Guy, a mis compañeros de panel y a todos los demás. Voy a hablar en español porque hablar de estos temas significa hablar de emociones, y por eso me siento mucho más cómoda en mi propio idioma. Así que me gustaría compartir un instante una pequeña presentación que hice para, creo que ahí ven bien, ¿no? Ok. ¿Cómo los geoparques mundiales de UNESCO nos ayudan a conectarnos con el patrimonio cultural, el patrimonio natural y el patrimonio geológico de los territorios? Para entender eso, primero tenemos que entender cuál es la relación entre los seres humanos y la naturaleza, esta coexistencia de la cual nos nutrimos las dos partes, ¿verdad? La convivencia de la naturaleza y el ser humano se interpreta de muchísimas maneras, y cada sociedad las interpreta a su manera. Yo hoy traje para compartir el ejemplo de los pueblos andinos que tienen el concepto del buen vivir, ese relacionamiento que nos refleja los valores y las tradiciones indígenas, con un alto componente espiritual, que es lo que hoy nos está sensibilizando, y una noción de comunidad en que se resalta la armonía entre las personas, entre sí mismas, entre las personas, y también entre las personas y la naturaleza, como una parte integral de la vida en sociedad, ¿verdad? ¿Y por qué no? Eso también, ese relacionamiento con nuestro entorno, con nuestro ambiente, nos hace sensibilizarnos de muchas maneras. La naturaleza es el gran artista que tenemos. En esta imagen que yo estoy compartiendo es una foto microscópica de una milonita, ¿verdad? Los geólogos usamos la técnica de mirar al microscopio las rocas y con diferentes cruces de lentes que nos permiten ver estos colores y estas maravillas. Pero los procesos geológicos en sí mismos son instrumentos en los cuales la naturaleza moldea los paisajes. Encontramos afloramientos representativos, los minerales, los fósiles, como estábamos viendo que Guy nos acercó las realidades del Geoparque Mundial de UNESCO Haute-Provence, ¿verdad? Y cualquier otro fenómeno geológico, como mostró hoy Asier, las erupciones volcánicas, la sedimentación, la erosión, por ejemplo, que ha moldeado el Gran Cañón del Colorado, que es un paisaje que realmente emociona muchísimo también. Pero también el arte nos ha conectado se conecta en esta ida y vuelta con los propios situaciones que vive el medio ambiente, y así el arte se está conectando con los conceptos del cambio climático, los problemas ambientales y también la conciencia ecológica. La relación entre el arte y la geología se representa, y todo el patrimonio natural y cultural se representa de muchísimas maneras, como nos mostró Jimmy algunas de ellas: la fotografía, la poesía, la escultura. En la imagen estamos compartiendo uno de los geositios del Geoparque Mundial de UNESCO, Grutas del Palacio, donde el artista Arregui nos muestra en su obra el zoológico del futuro, zoologic from the future, donde solamente podríamos ver a los animales si siguiéramos en esta depredación del medio ambiente a través de esculturas de este tipo, ¿verdad? Y por lo tanto, los aspectos estéticos de nuestros paisajes y de nuestro planeta Tierra los podemos usar de muchísimas maneras, haciendo educación, haciendo turismo, en la geoconservación y también en el arte en general, como lo vemos cotidianamente en todas nuestras ciudades. ¿Cuál es la gran herramienta que tienen los geoparques para sensibilizar al público en general? Es a través de la educación de las geociencias, ¿verdad? No hay nada más rico que poder explicar al público por qué el paisaje que vemos es lo que es, ¿verdad? Cuando uno comprende sinceramente y logra internalizar el paisaje que ve y entender por qué se ha moldeado de esa manera, realmente es una experiencia maravillosa que inspira evidentemente a artistas y a cualquier persona, nos sensibiliza, nos moviliza la naturaleza cuando la comprendemos. Y esa es la gran herramienta que los geoparques mundiales de UNESCO pueden promovernos a través de la geoeducación. Muchísimas son las formas de utilizar, Lidia, el patrimonio natural y el patrimonio cultural como una industria creativa, ¿verdad? En el caso que ya también se mostró, la verdad que es un programa maravilloso, el programa de GeoFood, que nace en el Geoparque Magma de Noruega, donde aprendemos, buscamos la asociación entre científicos, entre productores, el geoparque y todo el territorio, de encontrar cuál es el vínculo entre los alimentos que producimos en un geoparque con la historia de ese territorio. Cómo se vinculan con el patrimonio geológico. Hemos encontrado que a través de la trazabilidad de elementos geoquímicos podemos identificar que un producto salió de esta tierra, ¿tá? Y eso es maravilloso. ¿Por qué? Porque generamos una historia para cada producto, lo cual lo hace mucho más rico al producto, ¿verdad? Más atractivo para los consumidores, y de esa manera se habilita la posibilidad de que esos productores del área rural se queden allí, en vez de movilizarse a las grandes ciudades, ¿verdad? Y puedan desarrollar sus territorios. También en lo que tiene que ver con el bienestar y la salud, ¿verdad? En todo lo que tiene que ver con los deportes al aire libre, pero también mucho con lo que tiene que ver con la medicina, con la salud de los seres humanos. Y ahí también tenemos un gran potencial en los geoparques, ¿verdad? Por el desarrollo de un turismo de medicina, de un turismo saludable, que bueno, en esta pandemia lo hemos aprendido a valorar y todos lo deseamos así de ahora en más. Así que bueno, muchísimas son las maneras de vincularnos, y las industrias creativas son altamente una opción para un desarrollo económico de las comunidades. ¿tá? Tenemos grandes ejemplos en el mundo, no todos están en los geoparques, pero muchos sí. Yo siempre resalto la situación del flamenco en España, a través de esa danza, a través de ese patrimonio cultural, logran desarrollar un movimiento económico muy fuerte que termina en productos artísticos, que termina en geoproductos. Nadie llega al sur de España y se va sin conocer lo que es el flamenco. Así que, bueno, por aquí era mi exposición.
Muchas gracias, Helga, y qué bueno que traes ejemplos muy concretos. Eu agora ia hacer una segunda ronda de cuestiones a cada uno de nuestros panelistas, quizás para entrar un poco más en profundidad, y regreso a ti, Jimmy, y de nuevo quizás una cuestión compuesta, ¿no? Pero la primera cuestión para ti, y viendo de una familia que tuvo una conexión con geología y tú propio muy temprano, ¿cómo sientes que lo que estás haciendo en varios lugares del mundo se puede conectar con los geoparques y crearnos alianzas, aprovechar esta oportunidad de tenerte con nosotros, y quizás conectar eso al trabajo que tu fundación... Oh, I'm sorry, I'm speaking Spanish. It was a problem with the Helga. I just switched.
I'm getting a little bit of it, but keep coming.
But let me rephrase and say that how do you see the work you do, connecting it to what we do in the geoparks, in the UNESCO Global Geoparks, and maybe if you can explain by talking a little bit more what you are doing with your foundation, Jim Nelson Foundation, that is starting really exciting projects related to young creative ambassadors and education for children. So how do you see us developing?
Well, it's a very, very big dream. It's a massive manifestation. We will realize it, but it's something that's still, but the ingredients are threefold. We were talking not so long ago about how in the 2050s, it's 70–75% of the world's population will live in metropolises. They're not going to leave those metropolises. So with all due respect, the beautiful art in the natural world disappearing off into Papua New Guinea, this will not be the privilege for the newest generation following. How can we connect that generation who are stuck in the metropolises to this feeling, this balance, this, you were referring to it in a few slides, this health? We have to do this in the online world. We have to, with what we are doing within our foundation, we're creating two things. One is hopefully a digital museum, whereby the world's indigenous cultures can participate and share their knowledge, their insights, their music, their languages. It gives them objectivity from their perspective, so it becomes a platform. Running parallel to this is creating what we call cult ed, so this cultural education, but for children with a children's perspective through storytelling. So not by making it high-end art or disconnection, but by bringing it back into almost this avatar-esque experience, this feeling of participation, gaming, and bringing them to a feeling of curiosity, much the same as this girl we had in the studio, whereby you break down the barriers of misunderstanding, of fear, of disconnection, and bring it closer. I would argue what's happened in the last 1.5 years with globally and in the developed world is we were afraid, we've become even more afraid by letting other people indoctrinate us with information we don't understand, so we believe. the more we enable ourselves to understand and connect and have insight into other people, other cultures, the better we can apply ourselves as healthy human beings in the future. So one is by creating global installations. Coincidentally, we already have one in Beau-de-Provence near Marseille in a quarry. They've developed technology in a quarry to take us into these indigenous people around the world. 2 is this online museum. And 3 is through cultural education, through gaming and playful avatar-esque experiences for children. So I think our generation appreciates the art, the sculpture, the validity of everything, but it's not about us anymore. We're sort of talking about humility. I think this is also very important. The sooner that human beings get back in touch with the natural world and the respect for the natural world, we will, as individuals, disconnect from our ego and realize how insignificant we as one individual are in the passage of time. Then we will become much more present. One of my obsessions with spending time with indigenous cultures is, unlike us, we think we control everything. We control the future, our pension, our past, we're insured, everything's going to be fine. When you go deep into indigenous communities, they live very presently. They live in the moment. They live today, not only today, within this hour, this minute. How can we bring that feeling to the newest generation of humility, of being present? So even though they may be stuck in these metropolises, in reconnecting them with Mother Earth, and it has to be through other human beings who live connected and through storytelling. And the quickest and the easiest way to do that is through the digital world. But it can't be through lecturing them. It can't be through waving a finger of fear. It has to be opening up a world of beauty, of light, of passion, of curiosity, of storytelling, of feeling a heartbeat, the relative heartbeat of the planet. Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy. And I think you just introduced to me beautifully the question I want to ask to Guy and to Helga because of their knowledge of the geoparks. And the question, and I start with you, Guy, is we live in a digital era. How does that impact art, creativity, emotions, and even access to artwork in a perspective of communities that in itself they are already remote? Do you have any insights there, what the different geoparks are doing by using the digital technologies that Jimmy just brought in? I will start with you, Guy.
Turn his microphone.
You are muted.
Your microphone, Guy.
Okay, thank you for this question, which is not easy. Well, we are in a digital time, but I think that this digital time is not everything. I mean, good things, we have 2 faces, like in the coins, you know, water is very nice, but if you are drinking 8 liters of water, you can die. It's the same that I can say for digital. We need to know where, why, and when in the time of the local society, we have to use them. So there is no global, I think, global answer. It just answer case by case. I am in our experience. I am not speaking, of course, about new technology and connection. Internet is obvious, contacts, diffusion of information. The work that is doing Jimmy is fantastic, sharing local culture, local traduction all over the world is fantastic. I can speak about use of tools, for example, smartphone. And we have several good experience. And you know that I was working these last 4 years in Vietnam, in remote areas. And it was very interesting that you can do to get the memory of tradition, memory of music, memories of knowledge, memories of fabrication, but also that we can do in terms of preparing a memory of the future, for the future. For example, in the Haute-Provence Geopark 6 or 7 years ago, on 2,000 square kilometers, we have done a complete cover of all the landscape by drone. Why? Because we think that in 20 years, it will be very important and very fundamental to have this database to follow the evolution of the landscape there. Also, one point interesting that I see, some geoparks are organizing interesting contests with sound, contests with picture. And that's very good for the geopark because it helps the geopark to create a database, and also it's helped people to feel and to look subject on another way. For example, the sound. Nobody is thinking about the importance of the sound in the life, sound in the city, the sound at the encounter between the city and the nature, sound of nature. So all that now, it's very easy and it's developing thanks to these tools. Also a big interest for me of tools, and I'm thinking about QR code and all that, is all the time, I am very furious when I see in a territory, thousands of panels providing an information that maybe nobody wants and creating a pollution inside the landscape, a kind of barrier between you and the landscape. And by this technology, we can slowly and slowly avoid this intensive use and expensive use of panel to provide to the people who want the information is a very less aggressive way. That I would like to say to finish about. And I come back about indigenous people and all that. Geoparks, they have a very good volunteers and they are trying to do the best to keep information about tradition, about knowledge. But we are all the time facing a danger that we call folklorization. And it's fundamental that all this work done with indigenous population should be done with anthropologists. I mean, we need a professional with us all the time to avoid to do mistake, to avoid this risk of superficial vision of this tradition, and to ensure a possible and necessary transmission of this knowledge to young generation. And in this case, I don't think that digital is necessary, and that we have to do is to help the people to be proud of the culture and to redevelop intergenerational links to help this fundamental transition. Okay, I stop there. I was a little bit
Thank you.
long,
Thank you, Guy. We are really a little bit past time, but I'm sure Denise and Elsa will give me a few minutes more, because I would like to have also Elga's point of view. And I know, Elga, that you were quite involved also during the pandemic, during COVID-19 pandemic, supporting geoparks really to use technology to keep their communication alive, to keep the work that they were doing alive, to open up markets. And I think this last comment from Guy is a quite important one that I think Jimmy also addressed. Is not about showcasing, it's about living experiences, so that you grow as a human being, you connect, and you learn from each other, and you therefore you become much more connected, not only with yourself, but with a larger human society that we need so much in order to have a better life for all and for our planet. So Elga, some insights on how digital technology and art and this connection, this emotion, these learning processes, sometimes unlearning processes to learn anew can really happen in the geoparks. And if you have any good example, they are welcome.
Yes, thank you, Lydia. I think, like my colleagues, that it's a mix of concepts, because if I'm looking for emotions, if I'm looking to really get involved with any community, I would like to be there by presence, to feel what they are thinking, what they are eating, how do they live. But according to this new reality, and we cannot deny that technologies are here and they are not going back. So there are many positive aspects we can take from that, like this meeting today, learning from people so far away, and also making possible that thousands of a class or group of persons can meet other people on the other side, in the Far East, in our case, or wherever, and share also knowledge and start a relationship. Okay, that can be coming deeper, and one day we can get together. But sharing experiences is a good way to use technology. So geoparks should have both of them, presence and also networking. We can use this tool.
Thank you very much, Helga, and thank you to all the panelists, Jimmy, Guy, and Helga for sharing. I'm seeing and reading the comments of the participants, and they are very positive that sometimes we don't discuss this and we should discuss more. So thanks for giving us your time, for being in this panel. I really hope, like I said in my opening remarks, that this conference is also a place to start new networks and new collaborations. And Jimmy, particularly with you, as we have talked, we really want to introduce you to not only to the beauty of our geoparks, but mostly to the incredible work that the geoparks are doing in promoting sustainable development, in promoting geological heritage and cultural heritage, but doing that through strong links with education and with promoting models that really can help us to aspire a better future for all. So thank you very much. Really a pleasure to be with you here, a great honor. Looking forward to the next sessions, but I will pass to Denise or to Elsa so they can tell us what is following. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, all of you. Just one little thought that came to my mind while I was listening to this panel, which I love because the subject, this is what I love. When I get in the next not many years here in working, I want to dedicate myself to the arts. So for me, digital art is one of the ways to communicate. But I also agree with you, Guy. You need maybe a combination between anthropologists and people who do art. So there is no things that you do in a wrong manner when you want to transmit knowledge. So, but if you go to Jimmy Nelson, which was the one, jimmynelson.com, people places, That's a very nice place where we can see how I was surprised when I saw the gauchos there, Jimmy. I didn't know you were in Argentina or Uruguay. You're saying you can find them even in go up, Jenna, go up, up, to the map.
Can I quickly say something?
Yes, there. Yes, of course.
I completely agree with Guy about anthropology and keeping it scientific. But I think we don't need, I think as human beings, we all feel what is right. We all feel the rebalancing that we need. We all have a voice inside of what it is to be a strong and sustainable human being. And all too often our people of authority, education, intellect, wisdom can disorientate us, guide us, make us feel insignificant and incapable of doing that ourselves. I think we also have to be very inspirational and daring, take risks in how we communicate, and trust the human being knows how to listen to that voice. Does that make sense? Often we park human beings and say, these authorities will help you and guide you. But I believe all of us are capable of making that connection. So we have to find a path, a bridge of trust, of self-realization on this journey. And it sounds a little bit philosophical and a little bit airy-fairy, but I feel it very strongly. So we, from our worlds, have to be an inspiration to enable the human being as an individual to go on this journey of rediscovery.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Denise,
yes,
I would like to add something and to correct something, because I want to be very clear. I was speaking about the need of anthropologists with the management of the geopark to define the policy of the geopark. In my idea, the artist doesn't need anthropologists. The artist has to project his vision of the world, has to do freely the work, and to express itself. And I was not speaking about anthropologists with artists, which should be crazy. We need the artist free to show, to share. But I was speaking, a geopark with indigenous population need anthropologists to define its policy. With the indigenous people, they need professional. But I was not speaking for artists, of course. Jimmy, I'm sorry.
No, I'm wrong. I misunderstood. But you're right. You're totally right.
That's I agree. You are right. We need to work with them so we can understand them. And I don't know what they are working with them in other places, but we need to understand them in our geoparks and see how we can work with them. Which, as you know, we are making an important objective of that in the network, in the GeoLab network. So
I think Martina is referring.
Oh yes, you are right. You're right, Lydia. Sorry, Martina. Please, I saw your hand.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks so much. I think this is extremely important and interesting discussion. This one about how to approach indigenous people and their involvement in the geopark activities and creative economy, if you want. I think that, of course, we need always scientists if we are trying to involve some part of people, part of community, or any activity we are doing in geopark, we need scientists and experts. So this is quite clear. On the other hand, I'm convinced that mainly we need to speak with the indigenous from the community very deeply and very gradually to consult and discuss what they see in the geopark, what's for them in it, what they see as beneficial, and how they see the future. But this is not one workshop, this is not one discussion. I think it needs years to understand what they see for their future not to destroy something precious. So not one representative which can be a little bit, let's say, domesticated, if you understand what I mean, but real inclusion of all the community, all the representatives. This is not easy, of course, but I think only long-term approach with indigenous is possible. Not to tell, okay, we have one representative, we will involve you, and we will make creative economy here. It could be quite destructive, it was said, and the staging, folklorization, and all these things are happening all the work, and we are seeing this quite frequently. So thanks so much, because I think this is something really essential. And thanks for all the webinar, of course, it's great work.
Thank you very much, Martina. And okay, I would like to thank you all the speakers. Mostly, I would like to thank our colleagues, Nicolas, and of course, Guy, that is always there. He's always supporting us here from South America, Latin America, even coming home to workshops in presence. And everybody wants him here, so I hope he can come once we open frontiers. And thanks, Jimmy, again. It would be also great to have you here in Latin America. It would be great. So for you to know our geoparks, and maybe we can all work together. So tomorrow we will have, oh, Nicolas, hi, another person who was a teacher here in the Geopark world for me. Thanks, Nicola, to be here with us. And tomorrow we will have the second and last session. This one will be moderated by Elsa, and we will have also different points to touch, how to connect with important hotel brands that are going sustainable, which I think that will be great, and how also important people like Francisco Costa works with sustainable products, which are the ones we call geo products. So we hope you can be with us and have a good evening, those who are still with us, and it's time to go to sleep. And okay, see you tomorrow then if you can. Any question, please send it by mail. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Gracias. Adiós.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Au revoir tout le monde. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Gracias, Matilde.